I just saw this on Twitter. I thought it would probably be interesting. I suppose. Hi, Cornflake. Is this a good title? Trump. Oh, wait. Trump's bad. Being woke is good. Which is true. Can. Being woke's good. Yeah, I just got your message. Oh my goodness. It's really hard to tell. It's hard to tell. I'll tell you what. You really don't know if a stream's going to be successful until... Oh wait, the chat's on subscriber only mode. I literally changed that. I don't know why it would do that to me. I'm gonna call in, go to there. Why am I bad at using electronics? There you go. Yeah, it's toggled on, but when I remade the stream, I changed it. Talking to tomfoolery about doing a panel. And violence in movies and sex on TV. Okay, I need my poll. Who would win in a rap battle? Who would win? Joseph Stalin, Liz Cheney, or... Who would win in a rap battle? Joseph Stalin, Liz Cheney, Ooh, this is a hard one. Who else is in the rap battle? Whatever. These are dumb anyway. I'm probably gonna get these YouTube segments recorded real quick, and if we have any numbers at all, then we'll go from there. But we're at the mercy of the algorithm. Like always. I saw you YouTube short that you'll go live. Thank you. Yeah, I am going live. Let me put this in the other chat as well if you want to call in. So I put a YouTube short up saying that if anyone wants to talk, they can come in here and I will accept call-ins. If you want to call in, go here to the Discord. Run it up. We should do why Trump is guilty on all charges as a title. Trump is guilty. We're doing decent so far. Let's just go through the Jon Stewart video and go from there. And try not to get a copyright claim. See, this is what we can't do, Captain. We can't have that on our channel. We're a good community here. Oh no, I don't know what he's gonna say. I really don't. But Jon Stewart's going to give his take on Hunter Biden. Democrats really do pick the worst political tools ever. They pick the worst talking points. Because if you look at the entire Hunter Biden trial, it was so unfair against Hunter. They had a plea deal that the Trump judges threw out. Joe Biden allowed the judges who were investigating him to stay there, you know, in his own DOJ. Biden's own DOJ investigated him. And now, even after this entire process, and Trump says he's going to illegally use the FBI through Kash Patel to go after, you know, Hunter Biden for the rest of his life, you know, things change. Things completely change. Under the current justice system, Joe Biden said, I trust it. But under Trump, they literally said they're going to bypass law and just go after their political opponents. So, I mean...
Convicted is only served...
Well, Trump pardoned.
Pardoned his daughter's father-in-law.
Oh my god, why are they so bad at making the points, bro? Oh my god, they're so bad at making the argument. They even bring it up. They bring up the pardons, and they're so bad at making the argument. Can they please hire me? My stream's gonna get taken down if I actually react to this. I already see the copyright coming in. Crazy. Crazy. Welcome. Yeah, you go into the waiting room in the Discord. I don't know if there's a time you need to wait, but you need to go into the waiting room, and then things will be good. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I'll need to do this offline, this reaction, because my stream's gonna get taken down. But it's whatever. What is this? That's a crazy debate right there. Alright, let me see what else I had. Very true, baby. Piano. Very true. Bro, you're just viewing the news the way you want it. It was wrong for Biden to pardon his son. It was wrong for Trump to not put Hillary Clinton in jail. He tried. There was nothing they could have put him in jail on, or put her in jail on. Trump tried putting her in jail. She did not commit a crime. Call in. Call in, buddy. Please. Why does that happen? Oh no. Okay. So Kyle Kulinski is known as a populist progressive, so he's very anti-establishment, but he still cares about progressive values. So he's not like a someone, wait. Anyways, Kyle Kulinski is a populist progressive. He cares about progressive values, and he cares about being anti-establishment and making sure corruption's out of politics or whatever. It's really interesting to see Kyle go after Joe Rogan this hard. You can just see this title right here and see that Kyle is very mad at Joe. Kyle's been on Joe Rogan a few times, but I guess it's all going sour.
Oh boy, make it stop, y'all. Please, please make it stop. So we got some more Joe Rogan silliness here, and it has gone beyond humiliating at this point with how much he has bent the knee to MAGA and genuflected at the altar of Trump and Trumpism. So let's start with this clip here. Look at what Rogan has planned for the podcast coming up, I guess, relatively soon. Watch.
Are we doing Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, we have to.
We have to.
We have to. We helped Trump get elected.
Yo, I got a special January 14th. Are we doing
Let's do
can
Blow
we
It
get
Don
together?
Jr.
When do you finish shooting?
Well, maybe
mid-December.
we do that at Mar-a-Lago.
Ooh. What?
No, we have to wait until he gets in.
walk on?
We have to wait until he gets
Trump's
in.
obviously gonna walk on, dude.
Yeah.
If there's a
Oh,
camera,
God.
then bro.
100%. He's going to walk on for
Let's
Mar-a-Lago.
do it and play the day after. The day after, or right then.
We talked about it on the podcast, and Don Jr. reached out to me, said I can make that happen.
I post.
Bro, do you guys think that Donald Trump's gonna give Joe Rogan the Medal of Freedom? Do you think there's a chance he does that? He gave it to Rush Limbaugh. I think Joe Rogan's gonna get one, bro. Joe Rogan's gonna get a Medal of Freedom. I guarantee you.
To the support of Tony Hinchcliffe.
Put money on it. Put money on it right now, bro. Put money on Joe Rogan Medal of Freedom.
He said I can make that happen.
I posted a
shit.
support of Tony Hinchcliffe, and Don Jr. was like, "I love it."
Whoa.
Yeah.
John, dude, you recognized us. We're little schoolgirls. This is so pathetic.
Oh.
Yeah, bro. The fanboy culture.
We can make it happen.
So in other words, Rogan is taking his podcast to Mar-a-Lago. Let me ask you guys a question. If there was a comedian who decided, I'm going to snuggle up to Joe Biden, or I'm going to snuggle up to Kamala Harris, I'm going to get buddy-buddy with them and go to events with them and go to their fucking giant vacation home / White House of the South, how would these guys talk about it? What would they say? My guess is they would say, you're barely a comedian at all anymore, and you're a total partisan hack, and you're just snuggling up to power, and it's embarrassing, and this is not what comedy's supposed to be about.
I'm sorry, Joe Rogan's not funny at all. Joe Rogan is probably the worst comedian I've ever seen get that level of fame and success. Because he's not really a comedian, he's a celebrity. But his comedy's so bad. Like, it's actually embarrassingly bad. His stand-up routines are terrible, bro.
But when when Joe and his buddies go to Mar-a-Lago, it's Don Jr. liked my tweet. Oh, this is so pathetic. This is a guy who went from supporting Bernie Sanders to this. Look, we've given Bill Maher tons of shit because he went from Bernie in 2016 to Amy Klobuchar in 2020. Well, guess what? This is 10 times worse than that. From Bernie all the way to Trump.
Bro, Kyle hates Bill Maher. He's saying Rogan's worse than Bill Maher now.
But this is 10 times worse than that. From Bernie all the way to Trump. Somebody who represents the exact opposite ideology from everything you claim to believe in. So look, I think it's undeniable at this point. When you look at Rogan, I'm sorry, but he's much more like Rush Limbaugh than he is like George Carlin. George Carlin tried to speak truth to power. George Carlin has that famous clip when he went on CNN and he talks about how, yeah, Andrew Dice Clay, okay, yeah, he's a comedian. He can say whatever he wants to say, but also let's call a spade here. He likes to punch down. I like to punch up. I like to go after the wealthy and the powerful and the people who can.
Honestly, Joe Rogan's so much more dangerous than Rush Limbaugh because Joe Rogan presents it as a moderate opinion. At least Rush Limbaugh, you knew where he stood. But like Joe Rogan says, I'm an independent, I'm a moderate. And then he repeats direct Russian propaganda because he gets money from Dana White. And Dana White does business with Russia. And I guarantee you, Joe Rogan, if you follow the money, it's going to come back to Russia with him. Since Joe Rogan's so anti-Ukraine and he won't talk to Zelensky or anyone from Ukraine to give the Ukrainian perspective, but Joe Rogan will talk about how, oh, it's Ukraine's fault there's a war, repeating Kremlin talking points.
Control the country. That's what I do. So he's really not my cup of tea, right? And so here's Joe snuggling up to Trump, much more like Rush Limbaugh than like George Carlin. You're not an outsider telling the truth. You are directly in the halls of power among the people who make decisions that affect the entire country. And by the way, every time across the board, they're bad decisions.
And when it comes to punching down, every Joe Rogan joke is talking like it's at the level of comedy that's not funny, has no punchlines. The entire punchline is simply saying things you agree with. So like, bro, imagine, dude, oh, bro, I saw a girl who thought, she was a guy, bro. And that's the entire comedy special. Is just repeating boomer memes from Facebook.
Congrats. You're with the guy who cuts taxes for the wealthy and corporations and deregulates and gets rid of environmental protections. Congratulations. I'm sure Joe's happy about that tax cut he's going to get, though. I'm sure he's happy about that. You're with a guy who had a horrifically pro-war first term as you and all your friends pretend like he's anti-war. All right, I'm not done. Here we go. I got more for you. This is where Rogan's got a big brain thought, bro, about how everything you've ever heard about Trump is a psyop, bro. It's a psyop, bro. Here we go.
What you're seeing with Trump, regardless of his flaws, is a massive, concentrated psyop. They've distorted who he is.
They distorted who he is. Did you distort who he is when you had him on the podcast and gave him a fuck?
Bro, Donald Trump had so many cases of fraud and scamming people before becoming a politician. I know people want to say, lawfare, bro, it's lawfare. Donald Trump is innocent. Donald Trump has had so many affairs, has done so many financial crimes, has done so much discrimination, And by the way, just because he appeared with Oprah once doesn't mean he didn't discriminate against black people terribly in his business. Bro, Donald Trump, before becoming a politician, self-defined himself as an arrogant, asshole, rich guy who doesn't care about anyone else. His entire thing is firing people, as if that's a good thing. I know it sounds like really cool on TV, but he's a reality TV show persona. He is a reality television actor. Donald Trump creates fake realities. That's why he's putting WWE people in charge of what? The Department of Education? Because Donald Trump knows he needs everyone to be an actor in his reality television show.
Fucking hot stone massage in front of the country? Was that you distorting who he is? When he said to you that he never said, I never said lock her up about Hillary. The crowd would say it and I'd go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Was that you distorting who he is by not pushing back on that obvious bullshit? Is that what that was? No, when you sit there and play patty cakes with the man, somehow you're giving people the truth more so than the media that's critical. And look, to be fair, of course the media has been wrong plenty of times. But the fact of the matter is, at this late date, mainstream media is 20 times more solid than Joe Rogan is. You get more information and facts from even the worst mainstream media outlets than you do from Rogan when he plays patty cakes with Trump and J.D. Vance.
100%. And also, I saw this today on Twitter. And essentially, Joe Rogan said... Joe Rogan is telling us that Donald Trump has been mistreated, and the narrative around Trump is completely fake. Meanwhile, the person who radicalized Joe Rogan against Democrats was Tim Walz.
I wanted to stay out of the presidential election shit.
Yeah,
it's
what happened?
gross. Because I feel like I had to. I feel like this is so nuts. This is so nuts. When that Tim Walz guy, that guy's...
Bro, he wasn't even a head coach for football, bro. He was a defensive coordinator. Once I figured that out, bro, I can't vote for liars. I had to vote for Trump. I can't vote for liars. I had to vote for Trump. 100%.
Walz guy, that guy's, it's so nuts that guy was going to be the vice president. You're telling me, you're telling me this whole thing's fake then. You're telling me you don't care if someone's a liar. You don't care if they lied about their military rank, where they served. You don't care if they lie about being an assistant. You don't care if they lie about Tiananmen Square. There's too many things. This is so crazy.
What were the lies he brought up, bro, about the vacation to China, which was like a couple months off, and Tim Walz was saying that he was there during protest, which is true. He wasn't there for the Tiananmen Square, like the actual major events everyone talks about, but he was there for protesting and got a good perspective of what that country was like. And also, not being a head coach on a football team. Are those the two things Joe Rogan brought up here?
Tiananmen Square. There's too many things. This is so rank, where they served. You don't care if they lie about being an assistant. You don't care if they lie about Tiananmen Square. There's too many things. This is so crazy. You would get fired.
Yeah, and the fake Twitter stolen valor argument. Bro, Joe Rogan's toast.
If you were an assistant manager at a fucking oil changing company.
He is cooked. Donald Trump really walked through North Carolina and Georgia after the hurricanes, after the governors of those states and the representatives of those states told everyone Joe Biden did a great job. Governor Kemp of Georgia literally said Joe Biden kept calling and he was missing calls from Biden. Trump heard that, turned around, and then he lied about it. Trump literally just said, oh yeah, Biden, the White House, they're not even contacting. FEMA's not even showing up. FEMA's not even coming. Trump, he will lie about something that's happening right in front of him. He still lies about Springfield, Ohio. He still lies about the 2020 election. He lies about literally everything. You cannot be considered a serious person. Either you need to get some type of help, Joe Rogan, or he is being a political hack. He's being selectively blind on these issues.
He just had a venture capitalist billionaire on, Mark Andreessen, who lied to his face repeatedly about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and said it does the opposite of what it actually does. This guy said, bro, they debank at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. No, they don't. They literally prevent debanking. They fight debanking. This is one of the best government agencies we have. And Rogan sat there like a moron going, whoa, what do they do? Is that what they do? No, Joe, there's a venture capitalist billionaire lying to your fucking face because he wants to dismantle the regulatory state so he can make more profit. So him and his buddies can run out the back door with all the fucking money. Jesus Christ, this is embarrassing.
That does piss me off too. Joe Rogan being the podcast of the working class, the real media, the new media, the media of the people. And it's all just, and X.com too. Joe Rogan said X.com is the best source for news. And it's all just ran by billionaires and Silicon Valley venture capitalist billionaires who are scam artists who want to screw people over and steal their money. That's where Joe Rogan says the center of our democracy is. That's what Joe Rogan is normalizing as working class America is Mark Andreessen, Peter Thiel, and Elon Musk, and Vivek, I forget how to say his name, his first name is said differently from how people pronounce it, I'm pretty sure. But he's a billionaire. JD Vance was handpicked to be VP by Peter Thiel. Like, it's beyond parody. Make sure you drop a like on this video, drop a like on the stream, hit subscribe, whether you're watching on YouTube after in video format or if you're watching currently. Thank you for joining us.
What's a psyop at this point, Joe, is your show. To pretend like the right is somehow anti-establishment and pro-worker and anti-corruption and anti-war. That's the psyop. The psyop is this bullshit that Trump is actually cool. Don't look at his record. Don't look at his record. The vibes are on point, and we love vibes. Yeah, real fucking intellectual.
To the point where most people think that way. Most people think that way. They've had narratives.
What is a psyop?
They had narratives. As if Rogan show, definitely not narrative humpers. They definitely haven't shit on wokeness for 478 days straight in a row, making the same point to each other's faces relentlessly. Yeah, no narrative humpers there.
Psychological operation where they've decided to distort people's perceptions of things.
A psychological operation where they want to distort people's perception of things is crazy, bro. Imagine being that dramatic. Joe Rogan is one of the biggest whiner, crybaby people in American history. Like, he cries to a huge audience. He cries about being like disrespected and censored after having a $100 million deal with Spotify. Like, he cried about his Donald Trump interview being blocked from Google, having 50 million views in 3 days. It was never blocked from Google or YouTube, but his Donald Trump interview, someone told him on Twitter that they couldn't find it, so he spread a mass conspiracy theory saying that YouTube tried censoring his interview with Donald Trump. And again, it was like the most viewed podcast of all time within 3 days. This guy will make up any narrative to fit his preconceived views about the world. Joe Rogan is a dishonest person. He's not a good guy. He's going crazy. Like, he's actually going insane. I don't know if it's the psychedelics or what, bro, or if it's the money, the Saudi Arabian and Russian money that Dana White's funneling to him. I don't know what I can't tell what it is, bro.
Yeah, when you tell like an older liberal that like the Obama deportations were higher than the Trump deportations, they go, no, what? No.
Wait for this. Wait for this point. This is amazing to me. Zero self-awareness among any of these fucking monkeys. Zero. Wait for it. Listen to the point he makes. Then I'll tell you the reality.
Oh, and you go, no, let me just Google deportations Obama versus Trump, and you go, it's lower. They go, wait, what? Like, here's 19 straight articles saying that I'm right.
Yeah.
And they go, that doesn't make sense. And you go, right, focus on what's giving you the reality of the world.
Check this out. Jamie, go to that Hillary Clinton thing that I texted you today.
JMO.
This one is wild. This is Hillary Clinton in like 2008, and Hillary Clinton saying some wild MAGA type shit about.
Oh, she used to say the wildest shit.
The wildest shit about illegal immigrants.
Go.
Back from the beginning. Do it from the beginning.
It's like the same people who talk about YouTube videos having more comments than views, but they don't realize it's something with the algorithm and when the views actually update on the webpage. So they make a conspiracy theory up about the video saying that there's not really that many views on it. How does this video have more comments than views? It's like, bro, the website just didn't update yet. My videos go through different algorithm cycles as well. It's not a consistent like flow of views and impressions that you get on these websites. But you can either analyze that and look at how these algorithms work on YouTube and Twitter and a bunch of other social media sites, or you can make up conspiracy theories, which is what everyone in chat's doing right now. Make up conspiracy theories. Oh, they were trying to block it, bro. They were trying to block it. Do you really think YouTube cares? Do you know how much money they made off of that podcast? How much money YouTube makes off of Joe Rogan? Do you think they really want to block Joe Rogan? They make millions and millions and millions of dollars off of Joe Rogan being on their platform. They weren't trying to suppress the video. Like, are you kidding me, bro?
It's okay. Do it from the beginning. But I want to hear.
We got to have tough conditions. Tell people to come out of the shadows. If they committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked. They're gone. If they...
She's a Republican.
If they've been working and are law-abiding, we should say, here are the conditions for you staying. You have to pay a stiff fine because you came here illegally. You have to pay back taxes. And you have to try to learn English.
Oh, you have to wait in line. You have to wait in line. And everybody's cheering. So, 2008. Hillary Clinton was more MAGA than Trump. But how about that?
Wow.
She's more MAGA than Trump.
And
It's
you couldn't
all
believe
a
that if you
fucking
watched the news.
illusion. It's all
an illusion, bro. Look how dumb Rogan looks, bro. Look how dumb he looks. We've been saying that Biden and Obama were tough on the border with massive deportations. Donald Trump deported less people than Obama and Biden. He deported less people through percentage and also total number. But Republicans and Joe Rogan, they don't seek information. They don't seek truth. They seek confirmation bias, and they believe narratives. So because Republicans talk like they're big and bad, and they're going to go to the border and make sure these illegal aliens stop invading our communities, because they set up a narrative around it, Joe Rogan buys into it more than he would anything about Democrats. It just shows that he has no ability to critically think for himself.
All a fucking illusion.
It's all a fucking illusion, he says. Joe, who are the people who've been screaming from the top of their lungs this entire time that Democrats are actually very conservative on the border? Who's been screaming that? It's been liberals. It's been leftists.
True. Hello, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing all right, man. I'm calling from Iraq.
Yeah, I've been looking into Iraq a lot because of the Blackwater pardons Trump did. Reading more about that situation because I was kind of young when that actually happened. So when he pardoned those private contractors, it didn't mean that much to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely did some research on that. But yeah, how's it been?
It's been good, man. It's been pretty quiet, like recently. Like when I first got here, it was pretty wild, but things have kind of calmed down. So, but then in Syria, because I think the rebels have launched an offensive, so it's starting to get a little weird here again. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Best of luck over there. Stay safe, as they would say. To any person in any area. Definitely no reason to be worried. Very, very stable area of the world. But yeah, what do you want to what do you want to chat about?
So I saw your video about Elon Musk or Bernie Sanders kind of like agreeing with Elon Musk about cutting the military or whatever. And I think for two big reasons actually, I think that's pretty silly. For one, Elon doesn't actually want to cut the military. He just wants to redirect military funds toward his projects, right? Because he's like a defense contractor himself. And then two, I know Bernie Sanders has been on about the military for all these years, and that's kind of his thing, and I got it. But the thing that I think he's missing is that ultimately, when you cut the military, all you're gonna do is end up cutting people's jobs, which is the opposite of what like a progressive wants, right? And I know we can talk about like, oh, the contracts are too high, or there's too much money here, there's too much money there, but there's no way around it. If you cut the budget, you're cutting jobs, you're cutting education, you're cutting healthcare, and that stuff is going to come back to bite you at the ballot box.
Yeah, I think that's why Trump and Elon Musk, I think that's why they're not going to do a lot of these policies. I think there's really two routes that we see here. And on Bernie Sanders, I think he is kind of just like saying, calling a bluff and saying like, hey, cut this budget. But it is true, like you said, if they divert funds from the Pentagon and just do it through, contracts for the SpaceX artillery drones that are going to be surveilling American liberals in 10 years, or in 5 months. If they divert money to those sources, it's not making anything better. I'd probably assume Bernie's issue would be more so with the nature of private contractors or private manufacturers. I mean, we obviously know like probably big three, military suppliers. And also, I don't know how much Americans are receptive to many of these ideas because they're talking about cutting the Department of Education and a bunch of other different things, which would cause millions of job losses. And they're talking about like, oh, we're going to make them move out of D.C. And it's like, bro, 90% of federal workers are not in D.C. Like the federal government, it's a good thing we don't hear about them more often because that means they're doing their job. It's the same with like the our intelligence or the military. The less we hear about them, the more they're probably doing their job. There's things that they're stopping all the time that we just don't hear about, that the public just is not going to know about. Security threats, assassination attempts, all that kind of stuff. We're just not going to know because allowing those, that information to be out to the public actually endangers many of our servicemen and also women, and also our intelligence officers. If we just opened, like Kash Patel says he wants to do, although I think he's a cosplayer a little bit. But if we just opened up every single intelligence file in the U.S., we have so many Americans around the world that if certain information got out, they'd be done. Like they would be done and like we can't go into like specifics of that, and I don't know the specifics obviously, but there's a reason it's sensitive information, obviously. But yeah, I mean, Bernie Sanders is just using that for a political posturing position. He knows Musk isn't going to do it. I don't see any benefit at all. I don't see any benefit of that messaging. I don't see who's going to support Bernie more because of that. But also, you hear people complain about Ukraine funding, and most of the Ukraine funding stays in America and pays people to have, and pays Americans to make money, manufacturing new weapons, and then we actually pay Americans to help ship the old weapons over to Ukraine. So I mean, it's hard to understand. It's hard to really understand what the public's thinking at any time.
Yeah, I've noticed that there's a big like massive disconnect supporters. It's like they say one thing. They'll talk about like, oh, I want to get rid of all this government corruption and go after the deep state. But then they'll sit there and cheer when they see Elon Musk, a huge defense contractor, literally on stage with the president, like cheering and jumping up and down and donating, hundreds of millions of dollars to the campaign. But then they'll turn around and be like, yeah, we got to get rid of government corruption. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, well, it's right there in front of you.
And the actual brain
like,
chip guy,
yeah. And he's like supposedly gonna make this Doge government agency or whatever, but like, no one finds it weird that a CEO of like multiple corporations is also going to be working for the government, and like no one finds that to be a little bit strange.
Oh, Doge is state-run media. Like, that's complete propaganda. Like, 100% Doge, it's not even a government agency. They're not even trying to make it one. They're just having an outside agency do a podcast where they talk about government spending issues, which, by the way, no one has any concept of what the government budget actually is or what we spend money on. So they're going to bring up some, like, study that no one understands where they're, like, researching how dolphins mate or something because they're trying to solve a disease or whatever, because scientists do a lot of different things to come to medical, solutions. And to find treatments. But I mean, I don't know if they're even pro-finding medical treatments anymore or supporting vaccinations. So we're seeing a huge rise in anti-vaxxers and everything because we're in a post-truth, post-reality world right now where people don't care about anything that's actually happening. They're just going to talk on the Doge podcast. Like, we're going to cut $20,000 from this area where they were talking about feminism once, and everyone's going to cheer because we got to own all the liberals, all the woke liberal feminists. But yeah, their goal is not to actually cut government waste. And anyone who believes that, and I know people who have like doctorates in mathematics, and they're like, it's just like they're AI bots that are good at math. And many of these people work in our intelligence agencies who are listening to this. And I'm like, you can be a very skilled individual even and have no concept of how the world is ran or how government works or how society works or how anything is actually done. As long as someone's a smooth talker, if they can sound correct, if you could be Vivek Ramaswamy or if you could be Elon Musk or Peter Thiel and just talk from a position of authority, people will believe you no matter what the facts are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like a little bit older, and I've been around for a long time, and I've heard like Republicans since like the Reagan era talking about, oh, we're gonna go through the government with a fine-tooth comb, and we're gonna cut all this waste, and yet like the only person who actually did a little bit of that was Bill Clinton, and even then it wasn't really that much. You know what I mean? I mean, he was able to balance the budget and all that, but like for the most part, like the government has been shrunk down to a point where it's like it really can't get any smaller unless you want to start literally just taking people's benefits away. Like that's at this point, that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and the things they're going after, like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is very cheap. And I heard someone say like, oh, it's $1 billion per year. That's a lot of money. It's like, bro, that's not a lot of money. That's not a lot of money when it comes to the entire United States budget. That is not even a full percent point. That's not even 1% of a percent. Like, that's very cheap for what they do and what they actually limit. But again, that's another agency where some people get checks in the mail if a company screws people over. But you might not hear about them because they're doing a good job. Even having the threat of them being an organization is so good at limiting corporations from defrauding people and being corrupt. But, Elon Musk is going on Joe Rogan and Mark Andreessen, all these big, Silicon Valley guys going on Joe Rogan and telling us how all of these regulatory agencies, they actually don't do anything. And it just so happens that they want to remove every part of the government that actually does do good things. Like they're exclusively keeping the corrupt parts, multiplying the corrupt parts, replacing the good parts with private industries from their friends, like the owner of BlackRock. The owner of BlackRock is Betsy DeVos's brother. It's like they're all connected, you know what I mean? So it's all favors, it's all billionaires, they're all scammers, they're all financial fraudsters. These are the worst people in America, in human history, the most disgusting, vile predators as well. They are the most ego-hungry, self-obsessed, power-tripped individuals of all time. It's actually insane that we're seeing them take over in real time and convince the American people that they're the answer.
And it's scary because it's like that element that you just talked about, like those true like bloodsuckers have somehow like convinced the nation that like somebody else are the true bloodsucker, the deep state or whatever. But it's like, no, man, the deep state is they just won. Like they just took over the government, right? But it's kind of funny. The last time I was deployed well, actually the 2 times ago I was deployed, was the last time Trump won in like 2016. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like anytime I leave the country, like crazy shit happens. But whatever.
Yeah, hopefully, I've seen Trump appoint some slightly pro-Ukraine people, but I really have no idea. I would assume they're gonna let Russia keep what they have right now, and make like a fake DMZ and tell Ukraine you're kind of screwed. You have to stay where you are. And I heard Ukraine was talking about accepting that deal as long as they can become a part of NATO as a compromise. So that's the biggest, or that's like the biggest lead that I've seen so far on how they're going to handle Russia. But I mean, they literally are. Like Paul Manafort, I had no idea he worked for 10 years as a literal Russian propagandist in Ukraine, trying to institute a government in Ukraine that's pro-Russia that would essentially allow Russia to annex Ukraine. I had no idea Paul Manafort did that for 10 years, lost all of his money, defrauded bank loans. And then once that government got taken out, the pro-Russian government, once they got, once the revolution happened, then he went to go work for Trump's campaign. And then you have Michael Flynn, who calls for coups of the U.S. government constantly. Like we need one like Myanmar, I think he said. That was his big quote, right after the 2020 election. And we have all of these people, and down the line, people just don't care as long as, and this is what happened in Russia and every other like dictatorship or authoritarian country. They say the whole system's corrupt. So if it's going to be corrupt, it may as well be corrupt for my side. And my side in this scenario for them is essentially anti-wokeism. They don't like LGBT plus trans gay. They don't like, any people of color. They don't like any non-Christian groups or non-Judeo-Christian groups. It's really about owning liberals. It really is just about not liking liberals, thinking liberals are pretentious. And I would agree that liberals do sound that way, and they need to stop sounding that way because we're going to lose, regardless if it's rational or not. This is who we're dealing with. You know, we gotta make it work somehow.
So I'll leave you with this, man. For your comments on Ukraine. Rhetorically, like this is kind of what I've been doing recently. Is you can frame your support of Ukraine as the anti-war position, because if you don't want to start more wars, then you probably should help Ukraine to make sure that Putin or China or whoever it is next time doesn't start any, right? Because if you give up in Ukraine and you say, hey, fuck it, just let Russia do whatever it wants, well, they're just going to invade another country, or then China's going to invade Taiwan, or whatever the case may be, and next thing you know, you're going to have even more wars, right? So like if you want to prevent war, you want to adopt the anti-war position, then you want to stop Russia in its tracks right now.
Yeah, if anything, Ukraine is like, Ukraine's almost like sacrificing themselves by necessity, as not a DMZ, but as like a buffer zone between Europe and Russia right now. There should be gratitude expressed to Ukraine. The fact that there are people willing to fight for this, and they want to, the Russian stooges want to say like, oh, there's so many people dying there, but they refuse to blame Russia for any of it. Did you hear before you hop off, did you hear my hour conversation with the guy the other night about Ukraine and Russia?
I did not. What do you have to say?
Oh, he was telling me how Russia needs to invade Ukraine because they feel threatened, and the reason they're going into the areas they want. And I said, I think they just want the precious minerals and access to a port, and it's mostly economic, and also they're using nationalism to drive it, because Russia always does that with like Georgia as well, with reclaiming the former Soviet Union or the greater Soviet Union. And he said, well, Russia's doing this because they need to maintain geographical integrity, and there are the mountain ranges where they need to have positioning in for and I'm like, for what? And he said, in case if a war happens. And I'm like, well, what war do you think is going to happen? He's like, well, there might be a war that happens. And he was anti-NATO. And I said, hey, buddy, why is NATO now becoming a conversation again? Because we had a while where people were questioning like, oh, is NATO actually that necessary? Why are more countries now joining NATO that never would join NATO before? And he said, well, because of possible wars. I'm like, no, why? And he's like, possible wars. And he kept on saying possible wars. And I'm like, okay, you can say it Russia, because Russia is what everyone said North Korea was. They used the same strategy. If Trump wants to call North Korea a rocket man or whatever, Russia does the same thing. They threaten with nukes. They have a fake economy. That it's really based on a mountain of lies. Everything about their country is just propaganda and trying to use hard power to get concessions and to use their people to barrel through every situation. Like Russia's gonna keep doing this forever.
Nobody is ever going to invade Russia. Like it's never gonna happen.
And if Russia's
so, like,
gonna
this
nuke, they're gonna
idea
nuke.
that we're just like
if
invading,
they're gonna do it, they're
we're
gonna
gonna invade
do it.
Ukraine to keep them from invading us. Get out of here, man. No one's going to invade Russia. It's not even possible. It's too big of a country.
It's like, Biden made them change their nuclear declaration. And I'm like, can we look up every time Russia has changed their nuclear threshold in the past 20 years? Like, Russia literally changes it every, like, month. And we have overstepped what they said is, far enough. Even just, like, the long-range missile attacks are far enough for them to say, like, oh, we'll use actual nukes. But I'm like, guys, think about it. If Russia uses this line of thinking, either they're going to just keep on threatening people with nukes and keep taking whatever country they want, or they're gonna or they're gonna actually nuke. Like, there's no, like, either way, suppressing Russia and stopping them is the only option. If they're really serious about this and they want to kill all of their own kids and they want to kill all of their own interest and they want to kill all of their providers for selling oil and buying oil, if they want to destroy all of humanity, then cool. But it's not in their interest. They're not going to do that. It's all fear-mongering. It's all to make the American public scared more than anything. Russia's greatest tool probably is the U.S. If the United States changes policy, is Russia's greatest asset. Which is why they
one more thing, man. Then I really gotta go. So for people who want to fear-monger about nukes, especially with Russia, just remind them that dating all the way back to the Cold War, the U.S. and Russia actually keep a very, very close eye on each other's nuclear weapons, to the point of having, like, pre-set up back channel negotiations between our military and theirs. So, for example, say if Russia needs to administratively move a nuke to point B, then they'll send a back channel message to the U.S. saying, hey, we're going to move this nuke, like, from here to here, just, to do maintenance or whatever. We're just letting you know so you don't think that us moving this nuke is a sign of, like, us about to launch it or something like that, right? And both sides do this. And so, like, if Russia was about to actually launch a nuclear weapon or whatever the case may be, we would know, right? Because we keep a close eye on those things, right? And then obviously we'd respond, right? We'd start to prepare ours or whatever. So, like, everyone would know that, there'd be some type of nuclear exchange about to happen. And since all this since the Ukraine war has started, there has not been any changes in Russia's nuclear posture other than rhetorically for the entire time. Right, there's been no, like, preparation of nukes. Nothing's been moved. Nothing's been pulled out of any silos or anything like that. It's all just bluffs on the part of Putin, right? But people seem to fall for it.
Yeah, the propaganda works really well. The same with the Russian army videos where they're like, "We're tough. We're not gay like the U.S." And it's like Russia's army is literally one of the weakest fighting forces in any modern country. Everyone has the big bombs and they could be powerful then. But yeah, it's all informational warfare. Literally, information warfare is probably the number one. Cyber warfare and information warfare is probably the number one issue globally, as far as protecting democracy and making sure the world can stay stable. But I think even China is kind of hesitant to fully support anything that, like, Russia would do, even though they showed some interest in being anti-United States. They're just not. You have to look at what everyone's self-interest is, what the actual propensities are, and people just, like, I don't know. We've been talking about World War III every single day since World War II happened. So I mean, it's not like it has much merit to it, but.
Well, anyway, man, I'm gonna jump off here, but I gotta go to work now. But you have a good day, man. Keep up the good work.
All right, thank you. Have a good day at work.
All right. Thanks.
Have a good one. Thanks for calling in. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe. Thank you to the caller. If you want to call in, go to the... Well, Teague always wants to call in. Very true. He always wants to call in no matter what.
I pointed that out on this show 5,000 times. And you know what the response...
Oh, wait a second. Wait.
Illusion. It's all a fucking illusion.
It's all a fucking illusion, he says. Joe, who are the people who've been screaming from the top of their lungs this entire time that Democrats are actually very conservative on the border? Who's been screaming that? It's been liberals. It's been leftists. I've pointed that out on this show 5,000 times. And you know what the response is from MAGA and little Trump cucks? Their response is, Democrats are in favor of open borders, bro. They open the borders, bro. They open the borders, bro. They open the borders, bro. And I've been pulling my hair out going, you fucking idiots, go to the record. Obama was called the deporter-in-chief. He deported more than Trump. You ready for this, Joe? You know who else deported more than Trump? I hope you're sitting down. I hope you and all your buddies are sitting down. You know who deported more than Trump? Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They deported more than Trump, both as a raw number and as a percentage. More people got in the country, but that's because there was a massive surge of immigrants because we're post-COVID. During COVID.
Bro, Joe Rogan, you got to bring on Kyle again, bro. Bring on Kyle. Don't be scared, Joe. Don't be scared. We all have good conversations, all right? Bring Kyle on. Let Kyle talk to you about all of these topics, okay? We'll have a great time watching that. Please, Joe, please bring Kyle back on.
Nobody was doing shit. But Biden and Kamala Harris deported more people, both as a raw number and a percentage. I've been screaming that fact. Other lefties have been screaming that fact. And the response from all of your fucking idiot MAGA buddies has been, bro, the Democrats are for open borders. That's not true. The Democrats are for open borders. That's not true. So who's really full of shit? Who's really not telling the truth? Who's really a narrative humper? It's all you guys. It's all you guys. I can't tell you the number of liberals and leftists who have said that point over and over, that Obama deported more and Biden and Harris deported more.
Yeah, very true. Someone in the comments, Snow. He did also, Biden drilled more oil than Trump as well, but no one wants to talk about that. And someone in the chat said that Bidenomics was a big failure. There's no metric you can show me to say Bidenomics was a big failure. There's no human being can look at any of the data and say Bidenomics was a failure. Okay? No one can look at that and be honest. Bidenomics was based. Just saying. My YouTube streams are not receiving enough video. I don't know why. Interesting. Vermin Supreme. Oh, yeah. I talked to Vermin Supreme once. I definitely interviewed Vermin Supreme. In 2020 or 2019, I interviewed Vermin Supreme. Thank you for dropping a like and hitting subscribe. If you want to call in, the Keystone Pipeline is a non-issue. As far as gas prices go, if that's what you're talking about. It's funny how the Russian bots disappear when you ask them a question. There's the Discord. Oh my goodness. The soy smoothies worked on you.
But you guys all said you're for open borders. No. So in other words, all the shit you guys push on your show on a regular basis is completely untrue, and you don't know the first fucking thing about policy. None of them do. So let me make this as simple as possible. Donald Trump massively cut taxes for the wealthy and corporations. Donald Trump, his time in office, we lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs, and this is a guy who ran.
Rockpile, we call you Russian bots because you sound dumb and repetitive, and you don't have any actual arguments, and you repeat talking points that we know you don't understand. So you sound like a Russian bot. That's why we say Russian bot. It's not because you're a literal Russian bot. There's not literal Russian bots. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the propaganda networks, including Tucker Carlson, who is literally directly paid by Russia to be a Russian bot.
And as if he was anti-outsourcing, as if he was going to protect your jobs. Remember the carrier factory fiasco? Go read about that if you haven't seen it. Trump made a big show. Oh, I'm protecting these jobs. Within a year, all the jobs were outsourced. And so they outsourced the jobs. And by the way, they robbed the taxpayers because Trump gave them a subsidy to keep the jobs here. They kept the money and then they outsourced the jobs anyway. He was a failure on jobs, a failure.
Bro, Kyle goes in on Joe Rogan here. Good job, Kyle. I'm proud of you. Speaking of Russian bot, since everyone in the comments want to tell me that Russian bots are not real, let's talk about Tucker Carlson.
Vladimir Putin. We've watched from the United States as the Biden administration.
Now, why? Okay. We have so much information tying Trump and the right wing back to Russia. Paul Manafort, who led Trump's campaign, literally worked as a Russian propagandist in Ukraine from 2004 to 2014. The same with General Michael Flynn. The same with Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, and a bunch of other right-wing commentators. I'm sure we don't even have the entire list. But Tucker Carlson is also paid off by Russia. And you see random videos of Tucker in Russian grocery stores talking about how amazing it is to grocery shop in Russia. And also, Tucker Carlson randomly today, we're back in Moscow. Here's why.
In the week since we left Russia, Moscow, where we are now, in February after interviewing Vladimir Putin, we've watched from the United States as the Biden administration has driven the U.S. ever closer to a nuclear conflict.
Yes, it's the United States' fault, bro. It's the U.S.'s fault. The U.S. invaded Ukraine and Russia, of course. Although NATO has never attacked Russia or aggressed upon Russia, and NATO is purely defensive, and Ukraine is not even a part of NATO. and Russia invaded Ukraine, we're going to blame Biden. It's Biden's fault. I'm going to repeat Russian propaganda, right, Tucker Carlson?
With Russia, the country that possesses the world's largest nuclear arsenal. It has accelerated ever since.
Does largest nuclear arsenal even matter other than to propagandize and scare people? Because think about it. Every country that has nukes, they're thinking about different ways to use it, but the size of your arsenal does not matter that much. They're nukes for a reason, bro. Like, the size is not the big thing we're focusing on. If you're a country with nuclear capabilities, then that's a very serious issue. And Russia, their entire foreign policy is built on scaring people by talking about their nukes. Another Russian talking point.
And it's reached its apogee so far in the weeks after Trump's election. He's now the president-elect. In that time, just a few weeks ago, the Biden administration, American military personnel launched missiles into mainland Russia and killed at least a dozen Russian soldiers.
Tucker Carlson did not complain once. He did not complain at all when Russia launched missiles into children's hospitals in Ukraine and killed a bunch of civilians. He did not complain once when Russia has been killing Ukrainian civilians indiscriminately for years. For literally years. Tucker Carlson never spoke out about that. But now, this is his big issue. Another Russian propaganda point.
So we are, unbeknownst to most Americans, in a hot war.
Also not true. We are not in a hot war with Russia. Another propaganda point.
With Russia, an undeclared war. A war you did not vote for and that most Americans don't want, but that is ongoing. And because of that...
In fact, us funding Ukraine is preventing war. Funding Ukraine is the anti-war position. Funding Ukraine is making sure Russia knows they need to respect the sovereignty of other countries. And if they don't, the global community is going to come together and make sure we can maintain borders and make sure we can maintain that we cannot just go to smaller countries and annex parts of it when we want to, because Russia wants to claim a claim to rebuild the Soviet Union or whatever, and to take precious minerals from Ukraine. We're setting that standard globally. Ukraine is our buffer to prevent conflict. So Tucker Carlson, again, another propaganda point. Paid off by Russia, paid off by Russia, paid off in Moscow. The reason Joe Biden is doing this, the reason we are dumping aid into Ukraine, and we're paying Americans, by the way, we're all the money we're giving to Ukraine, we are paying Americans. The money's going to Americans to send Ukraine equipment. No blank checks were sent to Ukraine. No blank checks. That money stayed largely in America. And if it didn't, there was major oversight on how money was spent. So anyone talking about Ukraine is saying we should pull money out of it is spreading Russian propaganda. And Trump is going to stop supporting Ukraine and give Russia what they want, which is why the U.S. is giving so much support under Biden's administration in the final few weeks of it, because they want to make sure they can support Ukraine as much as possible before Trump comes in and gives Putin what he wants.
That war, because of the fact that the U.S. military is killing.
And if Donald Trump doesn't, by the way, if Donald Trump does not come in and give up Ukraine to Russia, I will give him credit. But every sign leads to Trump doing really bad things here.
Because of the fact that the U.S. military is killing Russia.
The U.S. military is not killing Russians. The U.S. military is not there killing Russians. That is objectively false.
In Russia right now, we are closer to nuclear war than
also false. The Cold War was much closer to nuclear war
any time in history.
And also Russia has changed their nuclear propensity and their nuclear threshold like 50 times in the past 3 years in response to them invading Ukraine and wanting no one to stop them. Russia did not increase their nuclear threshold as a defense mechanism. They did it on the offensive so that countries would be scared to support Ukraine. And guess what? Russia changes it all the time. They're giving empty threats of nuclear warfare because they want to be able to use that to barrel through people. Because they don't have a real economy. They don't have any other bargaining chip. The Russian currency, the ruble, is dying right now.
Far closer than we were during the Cuban Missile Crisis. That would mean the elimination of Russia, the United States, and most of the rest of the world. We felt there must be...
Russian oligarchs have kids living all throughout Europe and all throughout the world. Russian oligarchs love vacationing. You need someone to sell oil to. You need someone to give you, items through trade. You need other countries to work with. We have a global economy. Russia does not want to cause nuclear warfare to eradicate humanity. That's not going to be beneficial to Russia if they eradicate humanity and cause nuclear winter. Russia is giving empty threats. And if the threats are real, that's bad. But, you know, if Russia keeps on just saying, I'm going to use nukes if you try to stop me, and they keep on just taking territory and taking over countries, that's not possible. We're not going to let that happen because that will cause a world war. And also, if Russia's going to nuke, they're going to nuke. If they are really that genocidal and self-harming as well, that they want to eradicate humanity, Russia's just going to do it. You know, if they're not bluffing, they're just going to end up doing it eventually. Like
someone behind the scenes in Washington working to make sure that this conflict doesn't become a nuclear holocaust. But we found out that no, in fact, there is nobody. Tony Blinken, the current Secretary of State, cut off all contact between the U.S. and Russian governments. There is no back channel, there is no conversation, and there hasn't been for more than 2 years. That's shocking. Meanwhile, most Americans have no access to any...
All right, let's fact check that claim right there. The U.S. has no way to communicate with Russia for the past, what, 2 years, he said?
There hasn't been for more than 2 years. That's shocking. Meanwhile, most Americans have no access to any perspective other than that granted to them by NBC News and the New York
Times. Tucker Carlson is paid by Russian state television as well. That's a really big deal. Russian television, RT, is state-led as well. They are mandated to report whatever the Kremlin tells them to. So he's repeating here Russian TV, RT propaganda talking points.
They don't know how close we are. They don't know the Russian perspective. We've been trying for over a year to get that perspective out to American news consumers. We've also tried for over a year to get an interview with Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. We've attacked that from a bunch of different angles. We've spoken to a lot of different people around.
Also, the idea that there's no back channels for the U.S. and Russia to communicate, that's just not true. That was never announced. There is zero world in which we ended all connections or all communications with Russia. I don't know why Tucker said that. Probably because he thinks people are going to just accept it at face value.
Tim had dinner with them. We've been in talks continuously, and those efforts have been thwarted by the U.S. government. The American embassy in Kiev, which our tax dollars pay for, told the Zelensky government, no, you may
our tax
not
dollars.
Do the interview. You can talk to CNN.
Which interview? With who? Tucker Carlson? Did the U.S. Embassy tell Tucker Carlson... Wait. Did the U.S. Embassy tell Zelensky he can't do an interview with Tucker Carlson? Let's see. Using your tax dollars, by the way. Remember that. Using your tax dollars. So you get more mad about it. Also, not true. Tucker Carlson just made that up as well. Tucker just made that up. He made up that there was an interview scheduled with Zelensky, and he made up that they canceled it. So it was a fake interview that was never confirmed. And then Tucker Carlson announced it, lying. And then he lies about why the fake interview was canceled with Zelensky. That's actually insane.
An embassy in Kiev, which our tax dollars pay for, told the Zelensky government, no, you may not do the interview. You can talk to CNN, you can't talk to us. So we've been unable to speak to him. So we came back to Moscow yesterday to interview the foreign minister of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, the longest serving foreign minister in the world. He's been a part of this government for 25 years. He's been in the diplomatic corps for over 40. And ask him, where exactly are we? Are we headed toward an unprecedented conflict between Russia and the United States? Is there any way to peel Russia back?
So pretty much when there was a big issue in Russia with groceries. So Tucker Carlson went there and did a video about him shopping in a Russian grocery store. And it was a propaganda video, which later was included. The DOJ released the evidence of the shell companies in America funding like Dave Rubin, Tim Pool, and a couple other content creators. It was a Russian-funded source that was giving them so much money to basically reiterate Russian talking points. They claimed they didn't know the source was Russian, but it's funny. But these exact DOJ, what they released and what they unsealed, said that a commentator, because they can't say names here, but a commentator was told to go to a Russian grocery store. And at that exact time, Tucker Carlson went and did this video at a Russian grocery store, talking about the experience of shopping at a Russian grocery store, recognizing their high standard of living and low costs, all supposedly in the heart of evil, and it's radicalized him against Western leaders. And the community notes here is awesome. Over 60% of Russians spend half their salary on food, according to Russia's state-owned news agency. The groceries in this video cost 9,841 rubles, which is the average wage in Russia, 73,000 per month, which is $791 in today's exchange rate. Yeah, so he did this Russian grocery propaganda video as well.
What this would cost, everybody hears from the United States buys groceries, and we didn't pay any attention.
No, come on. Go back where I told you to. Here you go. It's like, oh, why is Tucker Carlson implicated in all of these different things with Russia? And why is Trump's campaign manager? And why are his closest allies? And why are Joe Rogan's friends, Dana White? And why are all these people involved with Russian and Saudi Arabian money? And why is Tucker Carlson just like randomly appearing like an NPC in Russia, spawning there every now and then to do Russian propaganda?
Went from amused to legitimate.
This is what radicalized me against the West, bro. This is what radicalized Tucker Carlson to be against the West.
Angry. So we were guessing what this would cost. Everybody hears from the United States buys groceries, and we didn't pay any attention to costs as we were just putting.
And they want to say that they're trying to say that it's cheaper in Russia right now. And that was back when the big inflation propaganda push came out about grocery prices. But the actual cost of these groceries were super expensive. If you actually do the currency.
What we would actually eat over a week. And we all came in around $400, about $400. It was $104 US here. And that's when you start to realize that ideology maybe doesn't matter as much as you thought, corruption. If you take people's standard of living and you tank it through filth and crime and inflation, and they literally can't buy the groceries they want, at that point, maybe it matters less what you say or whether you're a good person or a bad person. You're wrecking people's lives in their country, and that's what our leaders have done to us. And coming to a Russian grocery store, the heart of evil,
bro,
and seeing what things cost and how people live, it will radicalize you against our leaders.
Bro, this propaganda will radicalize you. That's very true. Propaganda will radicalize you. But you see you see this concerted push from all of these people to turn everyone against Ukraine and against America to support Russian interests.
From the East, from the sphere of China, back into the West? Is that alliance permanent? And does the election of Donald Trump mean an end to this war, which is reshaping the world, the U.S. economy, the global economy, and risking the...
And when Donald Trump finds an end to this war, pay attention to the actual outcomes, by the way, because Trump's going to claim victory. Like, he ended this war. He wasn't prolonging the conflict. He's going to repeat every Russian propaganda point. But we're going to see the long-term effects of this, and we got to keep on tracking it to make sure that people, I mean, the media is gonna media, but we got to do the best we can to understand what the actual facts are here. But yeah, Russian propaganda, speedrun, Tucker Carlson. How many points can you say in a row that are completely from the Kremlin? Okay. Make sure you drop a like on the stream, hit subscribe. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to bring a caller in, but drop a like, hit subscribe. Channel memberships start at $2.99.
Mainstream media guys are the worst liars.
Joe Rogan had on someone named Mike Benz, apparently, recently, after having on a bunch of Silicon Valley billionaires. Mike Benz, say the anti-Semitism thing again and you get blocked. I already answered that a million times. Spoiler, I'm extremely Jewish, and the only reason you're not blocked is I remember you as an early supporter. Okay. Hello.
Hey, I was popping in to do my quick little housekeeping thing that I wanted to do. So this is Sprig, your friendly neighborhood moderator in the chat. If you guys are liking what Jolah's doing, consider joining as a member for, I think it's what, $2.99 a month. Yep. And there will be perks coming eventually. And while he's doing the segments, he's not really looking at the chat. I'm seeing a lot of you trying to at him and trying to get his attention. if there's something that you really want him to address, go ahead and drop a super chat. Like I think you can do it as low as $1. A super chat, and he will be able to go back and see your comments and address the things that you want him to address. I think that about covers it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Thank you for helping. I'm gonna bring that one person in. That's new.
So what?
I'm gonna bring that one new person in. Rockpile. I never saw them before.
Oh yeah. No, that's fine. Join the Discord, go to the live chat waiting room if you're interested. There might be somebody in there. Usually, where's Cave? Why Raceland should probably just go and hang out with these people and like give them somebody to talk to. But
I'm pretty sure Destiny's still live. Yeah, Destiny's live right now, so that's taking away a lot of viewership from the stream. But we're still doing good numbers.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, okay. I will go back to moderating chat.
All right. Thank you for hopping in. School bus joined. Nice. Destiny clone. Join the Discord. Yeah, I know there was a debate panel. I was almost on that debate panel. I was almost on it. But things happen. Hi. Make sure you drop a like and hit subscribe. Thank you. You've been on YouTube for years. Have I not seen this channel before? Probably not. It's a really small channel, to be fair.
Hey.
Hello, how are you?
Doing good. So the thing that I joined the server to talk to you about is something that I'm gathering we might not even really disagree on. You might have just gotten the wrong estimation of where I'm coming from. But you were obviously talking a whole lot about the whole Russian bots thing, Russian interference, this and that. And I feel like invoking that talking point is just really toxic going forward, especially if you're like tying your political project or ideology to the success of the Dems, because it allows them to escape accountability for the real failures they've overseen in campaigning and governing. Like when people say Hillary Clinton lost because of Russian bots, I don't know. Would you agree that that's wrong?
Yeah, I don't know anyone who says that directly, that she lost because of Russian bots. I hear more people blaming Comey for her actual loss. But definitely just like propaganda and disinformation. I do think the way MSNBC and CNN talks about it is really bad and sounds toxic, and it sounds like a cop-out. Just saying Russian bots over and over again does sound really just like normie, and basically everything Hillary Clinton has touched becomes bad messaging, it seems. So that might be part of it. But I am using Russian bot as an insult for the people, of course. I don't believe in any big conspiracies about it, especially because, like, we don't need conspiracies. We know exactly where Russia has been influencing the Trump campaign, but we do need a better way to sort of communicate that. I do agree with that.
Yeah, fair enough. You called me a Russian bot, and it got me a little heated, so I joined, but I guess we don't really have much to disagree on.
Are you like a anti-Democrat progressive?
I mean, in the sense you're asking that, I might say yes, but I would also interrogate what you mean by like anti-Democrat. So probably yes, but it's more nuanced than that.
Were you like a Kamala voter?
I live in California, so basically I showed up to vote and didn't fill in anything for the presidential slot and voted on some props.
If you were in a swing state, do you think you would have voted for her?
I would have been incredibly conflicted, but probably.
Okay. Yeah, because if you say, for example, I definitely would not have voted for her. Someone said that to me. They literally voted for Trump because they wanted to punish the Democratic Party. And my whole thing was, you're not punishing the party. You're punishing the entire coalition and every person who votes for them, and every trans, every LGBT plus, every every black and brown person in America. You're punishing all of them, and even just like working class people in general by voting Trump actively against terrorists. So yeah, I have had those discussions before, and with like very aggressive Jill Stein supporters, I don't get along with them at all. So I do have very strong arguments with like there's a debate on my channel from a few weeks ago where a Jill Stein supporter and myself, we kind of just like yell at each other for like a half hour. But
yeah, I feel like Jill Stein supporters are basically totally missing the point. Like, I can see some, at least like intellectual validity to foregoing any participation in the electoral process if you're someone who's on the far left and you think that that's basically a tree that can never, like, categorically can never bear fruit because you're engaging with bourgeois parties in a liberal democracy and they'll never cede power to you via electoralism. So in like a long-term viewpoint, I can see anti-electoralism being somewhat valid, but if you're trying to like make the Democrats more like socialists so you don't vote, like I think that's very ill-informed in a lot of ways.
yeah, I like the strategy of in our two-party system we're stuck in. I'd prefer everyone make coalitions within the party, sort of like not just as Democrats, but the Progressive Caucus, and things like that. So we do have, and we had the Tea Party movement in the Republican Party before they changed, but it is harder for Democrats and progressives, or I mean, it's harder for progressives to take over the Democratic Party because Trump's insurgents, although he's like a revolutionary far-right authoritarian guy, that helps rich people, and Bernie Sanders becoming leader of the Democratic Party would hurt rich people, obviously. So those class interests are always going to conflict. And that's why I try telling people, like, we don't have the same
versus the communists.
Yeah, we don't have the same leeway. That's why I told people about like AOC, because she does a lot of media interviews and she's very nice on The View, and she's very nice on like a bunch of different mainstream news shows, and she called Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear and all that kind of stuff. But progressives don't have the same leeway to be super anti-establishment. Like, they don't have the leeway to just be super actively angry at everything, because liberal voters run away like a deer, and just a deer that hears a car horn. So it's really hard to move people over.
That was a good recovery on that analogy, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we don't really we don't really have too much disagreement, I don't think. I don't know, what would you think about the idea, this is a little more esoteric, but of not tying your political project to electoralism or to either of the two major parties? Do you think that's completely invalid accelerationism or whatever, or do you think there's any sort of anything there?
I think every battle needs to be fought in areas that are not electoral, and then when it comes to electoralism, you sort of just like go and vote for the best option and you move on. Everything we do should be moving culture and informing people and getting people organized. When we go vote, that's just like waking up in the morning and doing a job really quick to maintain activism, in my opinion. So like voting Harris for me was making sure that protesting was still pretty safe in America, which I don't think it will be now. Once Trump takes office, because he's been asking to shoot protesters. He's been asking for that for a long time. And the people that stopped him before are not there anymore. So we might see one of the first mass casualty events since we saw that one. What was the college that got during like the Vietnam protests?
State.
Yeah, like the Kent State massacre. Like, we might see something like that again for the first time in a long time. So that's what I'm mainly concerned about. And even the fear of just like using the DOJ to go after, they're talking about all donors, so anyone who's like a liberal, and I see local sheriffs and stuff making lists of liberals and their addresses so they can keep track of them. So like that kind of stuff really scares me. But electoralism for me is just like maintaining a system close to good, so we have a chance to advocate for these different things that we care about. But yeah, if you're a leftist or a progressive and you are just coming out and complaining every election and then going back to bed, you are basically like a illiberal populist. Like, you really don't understand organizing. You don't understand what any of these movements mean. Voting matters, but it's like, that's not the real work. That's not where the real work is going to be done.
Fair enough. All right, I guess I'll let you get to one of those other people waiting.
Oh, you're good. I have everyone call on whenever they want, or call in whenever they want. We just have conversations. I do this like 5 hours almost every night, so we definitely accept people coming in.
Yeah, I kept
and asking
scrolling past
questions,
you on my YouTube shorts and finally decided to join.
Yeah, well, thanks for
All right.
hopping in. I appreciate the conversation.
Of course. Have a good day. Maybe I'll see you
Thank
again.
You too. All right, peace. Patel vowed to investigate and come after journalists who lied and helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections, whether it's criminally or civilly. We'll figure that out. Yeah. Predetermining that you're going to go after people, predetermining there's going to be cases is really bad. Like, predetermining all of this is very damaging. Like, oh, we know we're going to go after these people, and it's probably going to be against the law, but it's okay. We just want to go after them. We're going to make up reasons too. We're going to find a way to go after them too. We're going to find a way, bro. I don't care if there's a real reason. I don't care. Okay. Nice. Love, not hate. Oh, man. That was a good back crack. Hello?
Yo. Is
Hey,
this
what's up?
Jolah?
Yeah,
Hi.
sometimes.
I remember I watched you like way back in the day, and then I think you like just started streaming again like recently. So that's what caused like the change? Like did you stop and start again?
So pretty much going through like college, I went through a big transformation from a really populist, anti establishment Bernie bro, and I transformed
That's
into
exactly
more like,
the same. That's exactly the same thing, because I remember I took my econ classes, and they were all like anti-protectionism and stuff, and were like pro NAFTA and trade deals. And I'm like, wait a second, I thought protectionism was kind of cool, and like Bernie and stuff like that always talks about like trade and all that. And like I was a big Kyle Kalinske fan, and that was like one of the big issues you talk about. But then I go to college, and they're like, yeah, this is like objectively wrong stuff.
I'm becoming more of a Kyle fan recently again, because
me
I feel
too.
like he's going crazy, which is a good thing.
I feel like Kyle's going crazy on Republicans and Trump, and it's like, okay, that's what we need. So I feel like, yeah, like I totally relate. And
Well, it's really funny because he's the person consistently defending like trans people, and liberals are just dropping them like toys they don't want to play with anymore. And Kyle Kalinske is out here, and he makes it funny too. Professional Trump nut coddlers and stuff. Like, he uses these very funny statements to make his case. He still says some populist stuff that's not very tied to reality, but I love the emotion. I love the fight. And I think Democrats can learn a thing or two from that style, at least.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing with Kyle is that he really believes what he believes, and he doesn't like let anything get in the way of that. Like, if you go to Jimmy Dore, he's like, oh, I'm a populist and whatever, and I'm anti-establishment. And then Trump is like super pro-Israel and doing all this like anti-populist stuff, and then everyone's like, oh, sweet, like, and says nothing about it. But Kyle, who is actually like, he really believes what he believes, he's willing to say like, oh yeah, Joe Rogan, you're a dipshit, and
yeah, he's ruining that connection.
His back on these people.
He's ending that relationship, and I respect it. But like, also, Kyle will say these things, and he'll just like, he'll go off about it because as a progressive, he truly does care. He gets genuinely mad about money in politics. He hates it. Like, he gets pissed when he talks about corruption. He gets really mad when he talks about anti-democratic motions or like anti-civil rights people or anyone that lies in general, especially now because everyone's saying the stuff about like, oh, Democrats are, they're not tough on the border, and he'll go crazy talking about how Democrats are tough on the border. And he just saw,
it's like a meme.
I think a big thing that's like changing him, like, yeah.
It's like a meme that he's always like, I'll say it again, like, Biden was like better on the or did more deportations both as a raw number and as a percentage or something. It's like a meme that he says that like every single time.
Yeah, and that's what
issue's
Bernie
brought
did
up.
too. Bernie had that meme because Bernie really cared, and people see how genuine that is. And Kyle is really calling out the BS and the lies and the inconsistencies and all that kind of stuff. And I think Kyle is being radicalized into being more of a liberal, sort of, because he's seeing a election where the material conditions of Americans have improved. By every metric for domestic production, for manufacturing, for infrastructure, for real wages, for economic outcomes at any level, especially working class. Like the working class had higher increases during Biden than any presidency since like FDR. Like legitimately, Biden ran an anti-neoliberal. Like he ran a very I could even argue a lot of his policies were protectionist and in building, especially the Chips and Science Act and the manufacturing. And Trump's going to get benefited for the things that Joe Biden actually did. But now Kyle Kulinski's seeing this and he's like, oh crap, voters don't care about policy. Like the narrative is what matters. And Kyle's really locking in on that. And I think that's really helping him have more sober and aggressive and more pointed takes.
I think if you're like a left-leaning person that wants like progressive economic action and you watch the past 4 years and you still think Biden is not I'm just gonna say like a great president. I don't know. Like if you look at Biden and you're like, oh yeah, that's just a establishment politician that does nothing for the American people, then there's something wrong. I think if you wanted someone like Bernie to go in there and do all this like crazy action, like you said, infrastructure, like price capping on drugs for like seniors and all that, and it's just like because my dad is like me and my dad back in 2016 were like pro Bernie, but now he's like pro RFK and sometimes pro Trump, but like too ashamed to admit it. I think some people just like the anti-establishment aesthetic and they go with it.
Yeah, and you
Joe
see
Biden
people who
and
are just
Kamala
like
Harris
if you're anti-woke or whatever, and that's what a lot of these people share. If they went from Bernie to Trump, they really just never cared about social issues at all. It really is all determined by social issues and culture issues. Nothing is determined by they're not even talking about, like, Jimmy Dore's not talking about Medicare for all or healthcare or about like corruption. He doesn't care. He's talking about owning the liberals. They care about owning libs, and that's what happened all throughout history with the communists as well, because they hate liberals and the fascists came for the liberals, and they were like, and that's what Cenk Uygur is saying right now. It's like, basically, oh, we're in the wilderness of the populism. And it's like, bro, every time we're in this populist wilderness, the fascists take authoritarian control of the government. Like, it never turns out well for progressives. This story never turns out well for progressives. It never does. There's not one time it ended well, including the Soviet Union, which is communist, which is like left-wing authoritarianism. Like, it never ends well.
Yeah, I mean, we've watched Trump throw in more and more Supreme Court justices, and that's terrible. Like that's not like all right, I guess Democrats, we taught you a lesson by having Trump win. No, that's like screwing us for generations now. It's not
progressive policies are done. Yeah,
and it's not even like it's just like conservative justices too. It's like MAGA justices that are like, oh yeah, we'll hold your hand as you do whatever you want. And I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and Clarence Thomas can go on like a bunch of different fancy vacations, and no one cares about that corruption. No one cares about that, like Trump pardoning Blackwater war criminals, and Blackwater is owned by the guy who is Betsy DeVos's sister, who is the daughter of another guy who's a billionaire, and they're all just like, it literally is a billionaire. I'm not going to use the word cabal because that has a very bad sentiment in that word. But it is really a group of these billionaires coming together, the crony capitalist class coming together to take over the American government, and Americans are okay with it because they're talking in an angry, convincing way. And all Democrats needed to do, they don't even need to be populist. They just need to message better and be willing to engage a little. It was a close election. It was a very close election. Even with like the total global shift away from incumbents, and it was still this close after Harris ran a 90-day campaign. It was so close. Trump's foundation is so flimsy. And the fact Democrats are not jumping on this opportunity to shift their tone at all, and we see Schumer and we see Jeffries just doing the same decorum bullshit. Like, it actually is kind of like angering to see their unwillingness to change, but yeah.
It's kind of, I mean, this might be like a stupid meme question, but do you have like an idea of who should run for president in 2028? at all? Because I'm hearing I'm hearing like Kyle Kalinske talk about like why am I blanking on his name? Freaking Jon Stewart. I almost think that's a good idea because like I don't know, does America just want like a TV personality, charismatic guy? Like I don't know. Do you have any insight into this? I don't know. That might be what we need to finally like beat Trump, I guess, consistently, because we keep putting smart technocratic women and they get destroyed, or not destroyed, but they just don't quite have what it takes, I guess, you know. I don't know.
I think Hillary was uniquely bad. And also, one big thing, I see liberals talking about the Trump family having a political dynasty and complaining about how Trumps are winning everywhere. But we need to understand, if we're going to reject what Trump's doing, we need to actually be different. We need to show a clear distinction. We can't have Clinton, Clinton, Clinton. We can't have Bush, Bush, Bush. We can't have Jeb.
Yeah.
And all these other people and, you know, multiple presidents with the same last name from the same families. We've been doing this for a long time. But now Trump is taking all these corrupt loopholes that were left in the system that people just chose not to take before. Even with Watergate, Nixon tried blocking everything. But the people who were in Nixon's administration served as the guardrails. It was not our institutions. It was not the Constitution. It was people in Nixon's administration that said, I will not block this. We are going to get this information out to the public. So Democrats need to realize that. And we need to be a clear distinction to the corrupt Elon Musk, like co-president, the richest man in the world. We did not vote for him. Why is he in the White House? Why is he on calls for foreign policy? Why does he own major infrastructure in like 18 different sectors? Military defense, brain chips, autonomous vehicles, SpaceX, there's Tesla, X.com, owning media. Why are these billionaires owning so many aspects of society? Democrats need to take a clear distinction from them. And it's like also the billionaires who have $1 or $2 billion, even $5 billion, they can now officially be class warriors. They can look like class warriors because now we're going to have trillionaires. Elon Musk is probably going to be a trillionaire by 2030 now, especially since he's going to use the White House to enrich himself. So Democrats need to be super honest about their change and say genuinely, this is what we stand for. Here are our principles. We are going to stand against corruption. We are going to get money out of politics, or at least reform it, and stand on business. Like, they need to do that, and voters will see that as genuine. And that's why I need to say right now someone like AOC, because I don't see anyone else who is even standing on that. I don't see anyone who has that cross appeal, who uses podcasting and social media, and who uses mainstream media as well, and who can be popular with legacy Democrats and also young progressives. And AOC is the only person who's taking this battle and actually adjusting her strategy. I've seen no other Democrats do anything except dig into what they already believed. There's a couple that are saying they have to change tactics, but it's been very hard to find people who truly know they have to do something different.
So with AOC though, do you think that I don't know. I get the feeling that America and like Democrat voters are probably scared to put up another woman just because it's failed twice. Like, what do you think about that? I feel like there might be some anxiety about that, and it might be like a lot of people just think like, oh, it's probably never gonna happen.
I agree they might have anxiety about it. I don't think the fears are justified at all. The things they talked about with Kamala, I think AOC would have really rejected those narratives easily. Kamala did not seem genuine at all. The fact that this election was so close after a 90-day campaign that was just thrown together, and Kamala was answering interview questions, even when Donald Trump did the whole cats and dogs thing, she did not capitalize on that at all. She laughed and said, wow, that's pretty, talk about extreme. Bro, you should be able to slam dunk that into like 2020, I don't even know when. Like, you should be able to book the next 15 presidential elections off of that. But she just laughed and said that's extreme and went back into her practiced talking points. If that was like AOC or whatever, they probably would have owned that situation much better than Kamala did. And in the interviews, Kamala also, I don't want to blame her too much. It's not her fault. She was put in this position last second and being pulled in 5,000 different directions by Biden and progressives and anti-Israel, pro-Palestine, anti-Palestine, and a bunch of other segments of the party, the corporate Democrats and the progressive populists. She was being pulled in so many different directions. She was put in a position to fail, but her coming in for Biden, she benefit Democrats so much up and down the ballot. People don't even understand what would have happened if Joe Biden stays in. If Joe Biden stays in, this election is so much worse than it was. So it's the wrong idea to think we can't elect another, or we can't nominate another woman. But liberals are so shaky and scared. Liberals are always so scared to do anything. And we just saw Donald Trump try to do an insurrection and overturn the last election and become nominee again. And like literally just admit to people that he's going to be corrupt. He literally just said on the campaign trail, Elon Musk gave me tons of money, so I'm going to give him a position in the White House. It's like he's just saying I'm corrupt. But people are just saying like, oh, well, if it's going to be corrupt, I want my guy in charge. That literally is how people are thinking. And they know Donald Trump's anti-woke and they want to be anti-woke and they want to own the libs because they think liberals are annoying. And and they're insecure because they think liberals think they're smarter than them, and they don't want to be seen as this uneducated lower class or whatever. And they want to make sure we can shut down academia and go after LGBT and go after trans people and go after, you know, the woke DEI hires or whatever they want to call it. But like,
do you think this was unwinnable by Democrats because of inflation, or do you think? Because like you know how everyone keeps talking about how it's like worldwide, all the incumbent parties lost, right? Do you think it was just unwinnable? And we maybe Kamala was actually pretty good.
Trump ran a terrible campaign too. Like Trump ran a terrible campaign, and that's why it was close. And someone literally just said, if Kamala would have closed the border, and the media reported on this election, they pushed right-wing propaganda. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, every mainstream media channel pushed right-wing propaganda. The idea people don't know that border crossings are at the lowest level they've been since the pandemic, and that inflation is back down to 2.5%, and that grocery costs are actually cheaper in 2024 than they were in 2019, is because the media is not reporting on these topics correctly at all. Someone said, why didn't they close the border? Effectively, they've been working with every country from Venezuela all the way up through Mexico to make checkpoints for immigrants to stay in these countries to have their cases heard, to have checkpoints where they could actually immigrate to those countries instead, and working with these countries to stem the core causes of migration and also the flow of immigration. And we have done so much. We've made so much progress. Yeah, there's the border bill as well that Trump got killed, and everyone's saying, oh, it wasn't perfect. That like the ACA wasn't perfect, but we knew healthcare was a big deal to us. It just shows that the immigration is a fake issue for them because they want to make it political. They want to run on it. They want to use that as a political topic because if they really cared about immigration, they would have passed it. Just like the ACA, we want universal healthcare. We want a public option, but we really care about healthcare, so we still took the bipartisan option. And that was the Republicans' big win.
Imagine if Trump was pushing, or like the GOP was going to pass like a public option, and like Obama called them and was like, hey, we can't give them this political win.
Don't give them healthcare yet.
Yeah, that's insane. That should have been talked about so much more. And I think in one of the
no one cares. They don't believe anything.
I guess in the debate, like David Muir or whatever, like asked him really quick, like well, you blocked that border bill, right? And Trump just doesn't answer. Like, he never answers anything, and it works. Like, why would he answer anything? Just never answer anything. That's like his whole strat. Crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. And people don't have any concept of their own finances or how the country's doing. They really don't. If people were struggling to actually eat, the people I see complaining about groceries are usually suburbanites, in my personal experience, or people who are like seniors on strict Social Security and fixed incomes, and those with developmental disabilities or whoever might have a fixed income in general. And Trump wants to cut Social Security. The fact Trump evaded the fact he tries to cut Social Security and Medicare in every budget, and the fact that he tried to kill Obamacare on like day one, and he was able to say during that debate that he actually saved Obamacare, and JD Vance said it as well. The fact he was able to say that unchallenged, it's not only bad for the moderators, but it's also bad because of we don't have a candidate on stage who can really hold him accountable. You think Gavin Newsom would have let that slide when Trump said he saved Obamacare? Gavin Newsom would have turned full Patrick Bateman on that.
What do you think about Gavin Newsom? Because I feel like he's got like really high pros, but also really like I don't know, like I'm not sure if he's a good like he has really good stage presence, and he's a really good debater, and he comes across really smart. Because I saw there's like he did like the interview with Sean Hannity, and he just comes across as really sharp, but he also is from California, which everyone makes fun of, and then
which is super dumb.
comes across but it's still everyone makes fun of like the homelessness and everything. But also he comes across as smart, and I don't know if people even like that.
It's because Democrats don't fight back on anything. And Democrats, there are far worse. Okay, so they make fun of homeless populations and addiction and a bunch of different stuff about Democrat areas and Democratic cities or whatever. Democrats could go so hard on red states on so many issues, but they'd be called pretentious and they'd be called like the worst people in the world. Do you know how much stuff we could say about red states, about the current condition of red states in America right now? Like, are you kidding me? California is expensive to live in because everyone wants to live there.
Exactly,
like everyone
because
wants
the
to be in
demand
California.
is so high. That's why.
Everyone loves if you live in California, you're so much happier than you are in like Alabama or Texas or wherever. The life expectancy is higher. You live longer in California. I don't even want to live in a place like LA or whatever, but just in totality, California is like half of our country's GDP. Like it's literally its own country almost. Like California has been so successful on so many fronts. Of course it has some issues, but the right wing can propagandize anything so effectively because they're shameless. And Democrats want to be able to peer review everything. They want to peer review every attack ad before they actually post it.
Yeah, I think there's also just like an inherent feeling like Democrats, I don't know. There's like an inherent feeling that like Democrats are like not the true America, and like red states are the true America. And it's like, I guess it's like if we came in, we're like, bro, Alabama ranks last in like education and health outcomes and all this. Like yeah.
I was just muted for a second on my stream, but yeah, education's fake. Education is Marxist, and it's been taken over by evil, trans advocates, and also healthcare is taken over by pro-vaccine people, and vaccines are now dangerous. So yeah, they don't want to be good in those areas. They don't really care about that.
Yeah. Jeez. Well, do you think Gavin Newsom would be a good option or no? Like, what do you think?
I don't think so. I don't really know. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Like it really is so hard to tell. I don't think there's anything that says he'd be a good or a bad option right now. We don't know what's going to happen. I think I'm happy that he's in charge of California for the next few years because California is going to take so much heat away from the rest of the world because of how Newsom is going to go so hard against Trump. Newsom is going to go so hard against Trump with all the states' rights he can find. So that's a good thing. But yeah, as far as a presidential candidate, it's too early to tell, and I really, really don't know. I mean, it's possible. We need someone who is either vicious politically, like Barack Obama, and who's just so good at it, or someone who's very genuine and very good at presenting a narrative, because that's all Americans seem to follow, our narratives, and Americans are more likely to report on what you convince them they're experiencing, more so than what they're actually experiencing. But also, it ties together. There is still some truth to good policy and material conditions, but we need to message right in these situations. When Trump messes up, the Democratic machine needs to be ready. The entire Democratic media apparatus needs to be in line with how we're criticizing what Trump does, so everyone can push the same message, so Trump gets all the blame for everything bad. But the issue is, we're in a really good place economically. We're in a great place with American manufacturing and infrastructure and inflation because of Biden. And now Trump's going to get credit for it. And we saw the consumer charts already. Democrats typically have a pretty sober view of the economy. So even during Trump's presidency, like 50 to 60% of Democrats thought the economy was good until COVID. Then it went down, which made sense. But Republicans, like 90% of them will say the economy is good under Trump, but like 10% will say it's good under Democrats. So Republicans are very prone to just like thinking the economy is good when their guy's in charge and thinking it's bad when there's a Democrat in charge. But that doesn't always need to be that way. Things can change. We've had huge changes in American politics. We've seen the low information voter go from Obama to Trump. And that can change again, especially if Trump does mess up and do bad things. But it's all about media. It's all about, messaging. It's all stuff we can't really control that much, but we have to do, all of us need to do our part in spreading this information and making sure spreading this information to combat the disinformation as much as we can.
Yeah. I think it would be helpful to have someone like Obama, everyone loved because he was a good speaker and was charismatic, and he appeared like anti-establishment, I guess. And then I don't know. Yeah, I guess if we can have that,
you see how Obama stared down Putin. Like Obama was like he was able to appear tough and exert himself on stage, which is a huge deal when running for president. Which is an argument against It's one of the reasons it does make it harder to run as a woman as well, because even height can matter a lot. So a taller politician shaking the hand of a shorter politician, looking down on them, looking tough, can actually, that can actually do a lot for someone's perception. So if you're a woman as well, you can't show as much emotion in certain ways because they're going to say, they're not going to take that as positively. But I don't know. AOC gets really good cross voters between like Trump and herself. Like there is that big thing about people that voted for Trump and AOC. So like maybe it is just
it's because they're both
fabricated
exciting.
Way,
they're both like exciting politicians, and I think
they know how to do
some people.
They're students of the game. They want to be good at this too. They want to know how to be effective. And AOC is willing to change based on new information, and that's why I like AOC too. Is because AOC has gone through so many transitions as a politician, so many different phases where you can see personal growth, and you could actually watch her figuring out how to be effective in politics. And her ability to do that and do that self-evaluation has been really profound for me. And I know she took her pronouns out of her bio, which is definitely a huge deal. Definitely a huge one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she started off as like kind of like balls to the wall, like Bernie, right? But she's kind of become like her own effective politician as the years have gone on.
She's become like a liberal politician, like a normal Democrat who uses populist rhetoric and who seems very genuine, which is like the exact mix we need. But again, I mean, to be honest as well, the different demographic groups Democrats are doing bad on, she might be able to appeal to them as well. I don't know if she's very religious, so I don't know if that'll be playing a role, but she could seeming genuine, just being harder to attack. She is attractive. That does help. So I mean, there's a bunch of different things to take into account there.
Yeah, and being young might well, I don't know. I wonder if being young helps or hurts, because
it depends what the narrative is.
These oldies, yeah. I guess
if they decide it's an issue, then it's an issue. If they don't decide it's an issue, no one's going to talk about it. Like they literally just set narratives. The media, like setting narratives, is the biggest thing. And the classic one I always bring up is NBC was comparing inflation since 2021 compared to wage growth since 2023. And of course, the inflation since 2021 was like 25%, but wage growth since 2023 was like 4%. But if you take wage growth from 2021 and compare it to inflation from 2021, you'll see that real wage growth actually went up. So Americans can afford more groceries now. But they would misrepresent data to such an extent where I think it's malicious at that point. It's hard to even take.
There's like some conspiracy. Like I don't know. It's weird.
They make
like,
money off of Trump. Money's a big money
Democrats hate
maker.
each
So.
other. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
The media makes a lot of money off Trump.
A lot of people seem to think that inflation will, or like the prices will like drop after good policy is done. But
no, they're gonna say they drop because they care about emotions more. So they care about the emotions of the price dropping. So they're gonna say things are cheaper regardless if they are or not, because they like Trump. If they like Trump, they're gonna say
the
cheaper.
Price drops. Yeah, if Trump says the prices dropped, they'll be like, oh yeah, you're right, they did. These groceries are so affordable. Yeah.
He literally threatened Mexico with tariffs, had a phone call with them. Mexico said, no, we're not going to change anything at all. And Trump went on Twitter and said he won and forced Mexico to change their border policy. And it's like, we were already doing this with Joe Biden. Like, overdoses are collapsing in the U.S. per month. Immigration rates are collapsing because we're working already with like Mexico. And Trump just took credit for that a week ago. With one phone call, Trump was able to threaten tariffs and use the art of the deal.
I saw so many tweets that were like, all it took was one phone call all this time. It's like, oh, wow. Okay, great.
Yep, that's all it took, bro. Trump did it, man. Trump just like, there's that, because no one pays attention to anything except the media they like. So
yeah, I think I don't know what to do with the democracy paired with the internet and X and all this stuff. Like, I don't know. This it's a big problem. It's a big problem.
Oh, I know people on X that I would not expect to be on X, and they are repeating neo-Nazi talking points, and they don't even know it. And it's like, really, like this account. I know this account is an open neo-Nazi, like unironically literal neo-Nazi, and I know like boomers that should not be consuming that content who are watching it now and repeating those talking points, and it's really scary. It's really scary.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, it's like, okay, because me and my dad went to the voting place in 2012 to vote for Barack Obama. Okay. These days, he's talking about immigrants coming in and like doing voter fraud and stuff. It's yeah, I don't know. It's the internet.
It should be illegal for immigrants to vote federally. Oh wow, it is already illegal.
Yeah,
Wow,
well,
Trump
that's
did
how
it.
works. Yeah.
Trump did it.
Yeah. What do you think? Oh, one more thing. What do you think about this? I asked about Gavin Newsom. What do you think about Mayor Pete? Or he's not Mayor Pete anymore. He's Secretary of Transportation Pete. What do you think about Pete Buttigieg?
I think Mayor Pete should have a show. He should have a TV show. Or he should be like he should be on every TV show every single day. That should be his new job.
He should be on Fox
honestly.
every day.
Yeah, he should be like
Fox guest.
He should just be a media person and be an attack dog, go on podcast. Like that's really a really good role for him. I don't think I'd have him actually run for something though. I think he's doing more good for the world doing what he's currently doing. Honestly, like he's so good at it. It's just like
maybe. I think being a gay, I think you can't win. I think, at least not at this point. It just doesn't seem like it could happen. But
yeah.
What did you think of that poll? There's like a poll that came out. I think I saw Kyle Klinsky made a video about it. A poll said Kamala Harris was like in the lead for like what Democrat voters wanted is like the 2028. What do you think about that? That seems like a bad idea. Just
I'm
because
pretty sure
we've already
there's polls
been
that say
through
like
this.
4 years before an election, there's polls that say like Kanye West is the #1 choice. So I don't. Yeah, those
True.
polls
I
are
mean, it's
stupid.
so far out. It's so far out.
Whoever
I don't know
funded
what I'm
that poll is
talking
a
about
dummy, and they should be all their money should be taken by the state to fund pre-K programs.
Yeah. Polls have been taking L's. I mean, geez, that Seltzer poll. My goodness.
Polling is a dead art form. I think polls.
I
Some
guess
countries
so.
ban polls. They actually ban polls because it gives people these expectations of how elections are going to turn out. And they can be like, yeah, polling is bad. I forget what countries do it, but some countries ban polls from like 2 weeks before an election or 2 weeks after an election to make sure it doesn't interfere with anyone's perceptions of what's happening, because people messaging is like all that matters. People will just like be convinced of something and go with it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I think I've taken up all the time that I should. So this was fun.
You're good.
Hopefully you do another call in and I can come back at some point. But
Yep. Tonight's more of a chill night.
All right.
Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, no problem. Bye.
Have a good one. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe. Drop a like and subscribe and hit like. Drop a like and hit like and subscribe and become a channel member for $5.99 a year. $2.99 a month. $5 million. Yeah. How's the new album? Kendrick Lamar is performing at the Super Bowl. I can't wait till Kendrick Lamar performs at the Super Bowl and says something real crazy to get people mad. It's gonna be a fun time. I wonder what Kendrick is gonna say. I wonder. Kendrick. All right, I'll take one more caller. We're kind of winding down for the night. Then I'll probably head to bed. Inflation is still pretty bad. Objectively not true. Objectively not true. Just numbers. It's not bad. 2.5% is a really good rate for inflation. We usually want it between like 2.1, 2.5. Our inflation's at the goal rate right now. So like our inflation is exactly where it needs to be. And our real wages increased more than inflation did, so that's pretty good. Inflation hasn't even hit full force yet. What does that mean? Like, I'm saying the inflation rate for the past month was 2.6. You can give me different numbers, but you're making stuff up. I'm not. You have to realize that. In fact, inflation is only 0.03%. The talking points. How does it feel? How does it feel to live in a fake reality world where you just make stuff up your entire life? You can't trust any reported numbers. You can't trust any data. You can't trust any objective way to measure the world. So you just make up propaganda and narratives. Like, how do you even reason about anything in life? Like, I don't know. I don't know how you do it. Hello. I brought you in the chat. If you're here. Someone. Oh, there we go. Howdy. I can hear you now.
Okay, here we go. Hey, so I just wanted to discuss a couple of things. I'm sure we'll probably end up agreeing on a couple of them, but first one, why do you think Biden lost? And more so, like, how could we move on? Like, how should we move on?
Oh, you mean Harris? Why Harris lost?
Yeah, sorry.
So, in general, Americans were told this story about inflation and about the economy. I think inflation and the narrative behind it ran away. So people just believed Donald Trump's going to lower prices because he told them he will, and he sounded confident about it. Trump's really good at lying and convincing people of different narratives. That was a really big issue. Joe Biden waiting so long to drop out, so Harris only had 90 days to run a campaign, was really bad as well for Harris and also for Democrats in general. Biden's narcissism and his team's narcissism and their inability to let Harris run her own campaign. They kept on restricting things that she talked about because she didn't want them to, or they did not want her to offend the Biden administration. The media's coverage of Trump was terrible. We did not talk about how Trump wanted to cut Social Security and Medicare. He tried to with every budget. Trump tried killing Obamacare. People think he tried to save it. People just believe things that are objectively just not not true about reality. And we can look at the numbers. Anyone who can answer questions correctly about the economy went to Harris by like 10%. And voters who could not answer any questions about what's happening in our country, and voters that don't watch the news that often, that don't pay attention to politics and don't read newspapers and don't do any research, those voters went to Trump by like 40%. So Trump was able to sell really easy, powerful narratives for people and play on their fear and anger. And yeah, Trump just kept lying. Like, Trump lied about FEMA. Like, FEMA was helping Georgia. Governor Kemp said FEMA's been great. You know, Trump turns around and just lies about it. Just says, oh, Biden hasn't called here. Biden never called. Biden abandoned Georgia. And it's like, we can literally verify this real time, but people have a selective blindness to it. So I think the propaganda driven by Elon Musk really helped Trump. Inflation really helped Trump. Biden's policies were fantastic. Inflation Reduction Act, American Rescue Plan, the CHIPS and Science Act, expanding Medicare to negotiate drug prices. These are all amazing things. Our manufacturing in America tripled. Our manufacturing tripled. We did protectionist policies economically. Biden did a couple tariffs. Biden got an actual infrastructure bill done, something Trump could not do. Our country is going to benefit from these bills in the infrastructure. But it's going to take a long time to see those benefits. But now, because typically economic policy takes 2 to 4 years to actually be in effect and be felt. So inflation in 2022 and 2023 was from COVID because of that delay and supply chains and all that kind of stuff. But now Trump is going to be in office when all the benefits of Biden's policies come to fruition. So Biden got blamed for giving America the strongest recovery of any country after COVID. Biden got blamed for that. The thing Biden did that was the most impressive, because of propaganda and media forces lying to people and getting them to not trust any actual stats or data or the real world at all. Biden's biggest successes as a president, the best policy agenda since FDR, is now the biggest cripple to his campaign, the biggest thing that hurt his campaign, which is insane. Absolutely insane. Every material analysis, if you think people vote off their material conditions and what politicians do for them policy-wise, they would have voted Harris by 80%. Like, if you look at the actual policies they've done to help people. But Americans, they have different reasons they want to vote. It's mostly social issues and culture. So, yeah. Hello, were you still listening? I saw you got kicked, but I assumed you were still listening on the stream.
No, my phone died. I apologize about that.
Oh, well, okay. Everyone else heard what I said. Basically, everyone voted off culture. They ignored the economic policy. Biden's policies are going to take a long time to be in effect. And Trump's going to see the benefit of it. Biden was really impressive with how America recovered from COVID. Somehow that became Biden's biggest detriment. They got Biden as the number one. They got that as the number one reason to not vote for Biden. And yeah, now Trump is going to benefit when, you know, we tripled manufacturing, tripled infrastructure. Medicare can now negotiate drug prices to get that costing less. And all the propaganda. People just don't know what's happening. They really don't know what they voted for. If you poll most people on Trump's policies, they think Trump is only going to deport violent offenders. They don't know Trump wants to deport every undocumented person, even under protective status, and he wants to denaturalize children that were born here and who have American citizenship. Like, people just don't know that, and they weren't told that by the media on the left or the right. And if you ask Americans about his Social Security policy, they don't know he tried cutting it with every budget. They don't know he tried cutting Medicare with every budget. They don't know. They just simply don't know what Trump did. They think Trump tried saving Obamacare after Trump was trying to get rid of Obamacare as one of the first things he did. So yeah, people are buying into narratives. So I can't really, I mean, probably blame media more than anything. And Democrats messed up having Biden in so long, and they were unable to give a good counter narrative. They just bought into the narrative on immigration and trans issues. They just gave up on it. And having no counter narrative just let Trump run wild. And I mean, we have to be upfront too. Like, America just let Trump lie. Like, they were okay with it. They did not see it as an issue. They did not see Trump doing January 6th as an issue. Americans largely did not care about those kinds of things. So
I definitely agree with that. I would put the media as a number 2 issue. See, I should have phrased the question more so as like, what should the Harris campaign in specific could have done better? Because while I agree with like pretty much everything that you said, I still think the media was like the number 2 issue. More specifically, when I asked you that question, I was more so looking for like economic populism that they could have done, right? But although you did kind of acknowledge that with like Harris being afraid to break with the Biden administration, and with her just like being afraid to do anything other than stick with his policies. But like, for example, just any economic populist, whether it be her sticking to Medicare for all or anything like that. But you're bringing up a lot of numbers. One of the numbers, I'm not sure if you saw this, but all across the world, this is like the first time ever since World War II where like all incumbents, like in Europe and shit too, lost their elections this year. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, so Trump had a big benefit this election. It was going to be against Democrats regardless.
Yeah, for sure, especially with the inflation shit. So I honestly believe like the lack of economic populism was certainly number 1. Although I don't disagree with pretty much anything that you said. I can even elaborate further,
I mean,
like with the CNN shit, like with Project 2025.
Yeah.
Like that bothered the shit out of me. Like they literally did like a whole report. It's like, hey, so like 200 authors are linked to Project 2025, but he's still not linked with it. It's like, okay, yeah, like
and all the undercover videos they didn't show of the Project 2025 people saying they like were in cahoots with Trump, and now they're just saying like, yeah, that actually was our thing, and the media just doesn't care. They spent more time talking about the Hunter Biden pardon, because the media is not covering. The media didn't cover how Trump pardoned all the Blackwater war criminals. Like they didn't cover that. They don't cover how Trump pardoned Charles Kushner, who like literally set up his brother with a prostitute, like, and recorded it and used it as blackmail because he was in another federal case for defrauding people. And it's like, yeah, they just, when Americans decide not to care about something like that, they just don't care. But also, I don't even think it's the populist policy. You could have had the exact policies Harris ran on, and the messaging could have been 50 times stronger on price gouging, on expanding Medicare even more to cover at-home costs. You could have easily went harder on those policies. You could have had the exact same policies Harris had, and this is one big thing that Trump learned. You need to force the media to cover it almost. You need to make it a story. You need to have that point you all like the weave Donald Trump does, which is actually just him like rambling uncontrollably and then saying like immigrants suck after. Democrats needed to have that where they talked for a long time and they were more factual, but then it ended with, and we're going to make sure we cut corruption out of government. Like they just needed that narrative to always fall back on, and they did not have it.
So
Protect
you don't
democracy.
think that Medicare for all, like even just one issue, for example, like one big issue, whether it be Medicare for all or I'm not even sure, would you count weed decriminalization or just entire legalization as
I
an
don't think
economic
Medicare
issue? It
for all would
kind
have
of
helped at
is.
all. I think that would have hurt her if she would have ran on that because she's not someone who can send that message. Like you can't just like copy and paste Bernie Sanders' policies on someone and expect them to be good with it if it's not genuine. Like I don't think Americans care that much, honestly. Like Americans did not vote off healthcare; they just didn't because Trump wants to get rid of. Like, if yeah, I don't know, it's hard to say because Americans believe Trump protected Obamacare, and they believe like when it comes to trust on protecting Social Security, Biden or wait, Harris and Trump when it comes to protecting Social Security polled at like 50-50. So like American, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, it's all about the media. Yeah, it's all about the media and the narratives. If people believe something, Medicare, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, because like the thing is I don't think it's like anything in specific. Like I don't think it had to be Medicare for all, or I don't even think it had to be like necessarily like weed
It
decriminalization.
had to be
It could have just
something.
been like $15 minimum wage. You know what I mean? But like
But
I
she had
honestly
populist
feel like it
policy.
could have
She
just
had
been
it.
one thing.
Price
Yeah,
gouging could have been the one thing. They just didn't talk about it enough. They didn't talk about it nearly aggressively. Like that was a
yeah.
populist policy. Like they had it. They expanding Medicare to cover at-home cost. That should have been blasted to every person in a retirement home or any person in a senior living facility or any person in like who has parents who need care and if they're protecting their parents, the sandwich generation thing. That could have been a really hard line, but they decided to frame it in this liberal, we're protecting democracy and doing responsible policy, when in reality, they could have framed it as Donald Trump is in cahoots with these corrupt billionaires who want to take over America, and we're going to make sure they can't price gouge you and come for your wallets. Like, they could have messaged the exact same campaign, the exact same policies in a much more effective way, but liberals are against being offensive. They don't want, like, even if it works, they're like, oh, we can't do that too hard because then people are going to get mad if we're talking about rich people bad because we have some rich donors and those rich donors are going to get offended.
Yeah, honestly, have you heard about Biden trying to make the cannabis a Schedule 3 drug?
I did hear a little bit about that.
So honestly, like I honestly think that that's like the perfect analogy to talk about pretty much like what you just said, but like just the general problem with liberals because one, it shows like their lack of offensiveness, right? But like also, let's be real, like even if you want to say that that's not like a large percent of Democratic politicians, like you know that at least some of them thinks that it's like breaking the glass and hitting the emergency reelect me button, which I'm gonna be honest, I mean it kind of is. But one, why is that a problem? But like also two, right? Like have you seen what Republicans are doing, right? Like breaking the glass and hitting the emergency reelect me button with weed. Like even if that is like, kind of what unsportsmanlike, who the, like how is that even a bad thing? Like Republicans are literally like first of all they tried to coup the fucking government, but like with that aside, right?
Yeah, no one
Like
cares.
you just
Yeah.
brought up the Jared Kushner pardons and etc. Right? Like Elon's interference and shit to get Trump reelected. I mean, come on, like this pales in
Well,
in
the
comparison. But
Democrats
like
are going harder on Biden for Hunter than they went hard on Trump for pardoning like violent war criminals and like sex offenders. So like Democrats eat their own constantly.
yeah, like well, it was in the news. Like the Blackwater shit was in the news, but it faded out after like a fucking week. That was the
Exactly.
issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, but it's also an issue because like two, they only made it a Schedule 3, right? Which like shows what you're talking about, right? Like what liberals just being weak, and it also is a perfect encapsulation of them for the third reason being like they're just slightly less evil than the Republicans because they're not going to decriminalize it. No, 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 no. They're going to keep it illegal, just a Schedule 3. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I don't even know if
yeah,
that would
I
have
think
helped.
that's the
People
perfect
literally just
analogy.
tell me they just think Trump would have lowered costs because he said he would, and he just said he's gonna lower energy costs, and they just trust him because he's a good salesman. Like it really is just he's a reality television star. He made money off of branding deals. Anytime he tried opening his own business, he failed. This guy is really good at creating a narrative and creating a story with different characters, and that's what he's doing with his cabinet. And Barack Obama was just so good at speaking, and he was so good at holding a microphone and pushing for these policies, and it really benefited him. And we need those intangibles. It's like drafting it's like drafting a player for like the NBA or NFL. Like you have their stats, but there's also certain things about them that'll probably predict if they're actually going to be good at being a professional basketball player. In the same way that you could predict how a politician is going to be on the national stage. Like that was Kamala's, by the way. That was Kamala's first ever race in a contested election against a Republican. She only had Democratic primaries before this. So this is her first time running against a Republican, which is wild to think about. But
I mean, hey, speaking of Trump's cabinet, though, I mean, with how many people he's packing it with, I mean, at least we don't have Jeff Sessions anymore. I'm glad we got rid of him. Jesus Christ. I mean, he resigned, right?
Well, it's going to get worse. Someone said Obama, one of America's most imperialist presidents. Oh my God, yeah. Trump's anti-war, guys.
Yeah, Trump didn't like increase drone strikes by 400.
And that's the truth of it too. The reason you have people who are like, they enjoy both. For example, they like Bernie Sanders and they like Donald Trump a lot. There is zero logical reason why someone would like Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, except for the fact that these people vote in a very emotional manner based off of narratives. They're mad at something. So Bernie Sanders can be a democratic socialist and yell at the establishment, and Trump can be a neo-fascist and talk about mass deportations. And people will go and support both of them because they seem genuine, and people want an enemy. The anger receptors in our brains and the fear receptors are so much stronger than our critical thinking. So that can overtake people and make people feel good, make people feel like they're a part of something, fighting for something. And that's the same reason that there's a lot of crossover with Obama voters that ended up voting for Trump, because we had voters with low information voters vote for Obama and then Trump. There's something about these voters that makes them vote in a certain way, and it's based off of emotions and narrative building. It's not really based off critical policy analysis. Democrats need to find that narrative, what that's gonna be going forward. But they're very hesitant to call out rich people. So even with Elon Musk, it's the perfect time for it. This is the perfect time to go against corruption. But I don't know if Democrats are actually going to do it. But yeah.
Well, one of the reasons I think people also go for Bernie and Trump at the same time is also like it's a really common conspiracy. Like if you ask people who like really aren't into politics at all and like really don't know pretty much anything, right? Like they're all of the same opinion, or at least the like vast majority of them think that like nothing's ever going to change no matter who you vote for. All the parties believe in the same thing. They're all in cahoots with each other. You know what I mean? The billionaires really make the decisions. So like that's one of like the really big things too with like Trump. People really, a lot of the times, they really don't even care, like, if it's going to be a negative or a positive change, right? Like, if you really talk to people, more so you get these conversations with, at least in my experience, and yes, I am a middle-class white man, but you get this with the upper-class white men, right? Like, you ask them, why don't you want to vote Kamala and shit? Or, hey, I'm lower income, I'm middle class, Trump is going to raise taxes on me. Doesn't that matter to you? And it's just like, well, you know, immigration, whatever, kind of outweighs that. They really don't care. Like they just want some change. They're tired of the same old shit.
Well, it's addicting to be mad at things too. It's a physical, psychologically, it's addicting for our physical brains to be mad at things. It releases chemicals in our brains. And waking up every day and having that purpose is an addiction. It helps people not think about their regular everyday life, and that's why most of January 6th, like I think 90% of January 6th were like upper middle class people from like very nice suburbs. But they're just like very big conspiracy theorists because they're probably bored and they need something else to care about now that we don't worry about material conditions all the time. The super poor people did not come to January 6th. Super poor people could not afford to take off work to go to January 6th. Super poor people could not afford to go to jail for January 6th. The most like impoverished Trump supporters were not at January 6th for a reason. The most emboldened and radical Trump supporters I've seen complain about grocery prices, for example. Many of them are definitely not struggling to buy groceries. But when they post a comment on the internet about how grocery prices are crippling their family, we need to respect their personal experiences. And it's just really hard when people go off anecdotes for literally everything. Meanwhile, we have all-time records in sports gambling, all-time records in travel, all-time Black Friday records. All-time records in holiday spending for gifts, for concerts, for entertainment in general. Like all these records are being broken for spending, part of it's credit, but also part of it is people just have a lot of access to capital, which is another reason that inflation happened, is because a lot more money was in the economy for a decent amount of time there. But still, real wages outpaced inflation, or at least kept up, depending on what sector you're talking about, because consumer goods is different from groceries, and that can be different from other sectors as well. But yeah, people, and one other thing to keep note of is the psychological effects of all these things. It's really easy for people to get mad at like the dollar, the Dollar Tree. Ever see that store?
Oh, the Dollar Tree store, yeah.
Yeah, or like Five Below. So people were so mad. It was a radical change in their lives when the Dollar Tree was no longer 99 cents for everything. And when Five Below is now no longer Five Below, there's things above $5. People can make more money now and afford more goods, but they will think the economy's worse because those changes happen, and those changes are very visual. People will pick okay, there's actually a big poll where people choose, if they had a choice between making more money and things becoming cheaper, they would pick things becoming cheaper versus them making more money, even if them making more money benefit them in the end. So yeah, seeing the Dollar Tree and Five Below change, that kind of stuff really messes with people's brains and makes them think that the entire economy is like falling apart. Wait, someone said FYI, statistically, the economy now is worse than it was before. What do you mean? When was before? When it comes to post-COVID, we've had by far in America the best post-COVID recovery of any country in the world. Joe Biden ranked #1. He was the GOAT of post-COVID recovery. And he got no credit for it. So like, if you want to talk about COVID messed a couple things up, yes, it did. But we need to have the adult ability to have big brains and think, wow, there was a big issue. Who tackled that crisis effectively? And we can look at other countries and compare it to our country and see that our country responded much better than other countries did for different reasons. But
yeah, there's also the issue of like, I'm not even sure why people are like of the impression that like Trump's economy was so good, right? Like if you look at the actual indicators, which granted, I know most voters don't, right? Most voters most voters don't even think that they raise taxes for everyone under $75,000 a year. But like outsourcing increased 3 times, and that's like prior pandemic. See, like the issue when you're talking econ with a Trump supporter, right? You bring up any stat and they say, well, pre-pandemic though. So everything I'm about to say is pre-pandemic, right? But he massively slowed down the rate in which jobs are being created. So like one thing I have to explain to conservatives all the time is like how the unemployment rate works. So let's say I just became president, right? And the guy who was president before me had the lowest unemployment rate ever, right? So I slow down the rate of which jobs are being created. Let's say people, like 500 people who were unemployed yesterday are being employed per day, right? And I slow that rate down to 300. We still have the lowest unemployment rate, but no one's going to say in their right mind that I did a good job, right? That's how the unemployment rate works. So it like really pisses me off when they always say lowest unemployment rate. But like you massively slowed down the rate at which jobs were being created.
Well, yeah, even judging like Trump's tax policy, like we saw quicker growth under Obama's final 2 years than Trump's first 2 years. So like Trump's tax cuts and jobs policy actually slowed our economic growth because we were projected to grow even more before that bill was passed. But he got benefits of revenue growing and the economy growing. But it's like that was happening before Trump came into the picture.
Well, not only that, but it added, if you want to talk about the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, I mean, that added a shit ton to the deficit. And like, that's one thing that Republicans always won't shut the fuck up about. But like, also, like what I was going to say with the outsourcing, right? Like, you can guess which jobs were being outsourced. Like, they're not like high paying jobs. They're mostly disproportionately, as a matter of fact. I think, fact check me on this, someone, but I know it's above 50%. I believe it was around 70% were like actual manual labor jobs getting outsourced, most of them going to, guess where? China. But like they don't talk about that, right? Because like China only matters when like it's a Republican narrative.
Yeah. I'm gonna bring in Stormy real quick. I really appreciate you calling on, but definitely a lot of good points there. And just in general, the vision needs to be sold. We need to sell a vision for Americans that we can believe in, and we have to have politicians who America's going to believe that those politicians actually believe in what they're saying. We don't need Kamala Harris going on and being like, by the way, guys, I have a Glock. If you walk in my house, you're getting popped. And it's like, bro, no one thinks this is genuine. You're not getting helped. When we talk about the economy, someone said in chat, We need to say we're making a new economy, not just we're not turning the page, we're turning the page. It's like, no, we need something more aggressive, more like we are changing the way this society is structured. It's been done wrong for too long. Even if you are just doing, reforms like infrastructure or tax reform, like taxing rich people more. And like, by the way, you talked about populist policy before I kick you. One big policy where it would have been a slam dunk, because Medicare for all, I don't think would have been nearly as strong as this. But paid family medical leave, I feel like if you would have ran on Medicare covering at-home costs and then paid family medical leave, if you run on that to tackle the sandwich generation that's taking care of their own kids and their parents, that would have been the perfect 1-2 punch. Like that could have been brought up all the time. And then you say for you in the middle, we're going to ban price gouging. You could have, that could have been a great messaging campaign, and the liberals could have just stayed within their range. They didn't even need to go super progressive or whatever. Like they could have done very good on that, just messaging better. Oh, you're on Xbox right now. That's a good place to call in from.
Yeah, actually, I was telling you earlier, my phone died. That's why I got disconnected. So I was just panicked. I was like, oh, I can actually join on Xbox.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I kind of disagree with you on there. The point that you were talking about earlier, like with people wanting to vote Bernie and Trump, right? So like it's just like what I was talking about earlier with like people just want the change, right? And sure, what you're talking about with the pay to leave is like a huge change, but like the Medicare for all had such a massive movement behind it. And yeah, sure, it has diminished a lot since Bernie's losses since 2016 and
I just
2020,
don't
but like
see. Yeah.
it just has that momentum behind it. You know what I mean?
I don't see where the momentum is, because I don't see any Americans caring at all about anything at all when it comes to healthcare. I really don't see any Americans talking about healthcare whatsoever. We will again, like once Trump tries to
We
kill
know it's
Obamacare.
cooked.
Well, yeah,
We know it's
but
all fucked.
if Americans really wanted major healthcare reform, we would have it. Like we would have it. If Americans cared that much, we need to make Americans care. That's the big topic here. So like whatever issue it is, we need to make Americans care or give them a reason to care. Something that can really grip their emotions and get them on board. And that's really what you're talking about when it comes to momentum. It's not even about the policy itself. It's about how effectively you can use that policy as a messaging tool. But yeah, thank you for hopping on. Definitely hop in again some other time and hope to see you around.
First time seeing your channel, man. I appreciate it.
All right, awesome. Yeah, thanks. Have a good night. Very nice. Americans voted for Trump will have concepts for healthcare. By the way, I need to change that, Twilight Onion. I need to change the Discord so you can change your name there. Thank y'all for hanging out. Pretty cool stream tonight. Pretty low key. We have 55 likes on the stream. Please drop another like if you can. Another like. We vote multiple times here. I voted 15 times this election. Drop a like, hit subscribe. Thank y'all for joining. I'm gonna take one more caller and hop off. I'm not sure what they want to talk about, but I see someone waiting. We got 80 subscribers during this stream. Pretty good number. Pretty good number. Vote illegally, of course. Why would you not vote illegally? You could vote multiple times, then yeah, thanks no. We're gonna have concepts of an economy soon. Hello.
Hello. Oh, was not thinking I was gonna talk today, but I decided I am. So, the thing about the Rogan or not Rogan, I sort of spoiled what I was gonna say. The Bernie Sanders, it is completely emotional, just because like Joe Rogan's an example of this. He said something about endorsing Sanders, and then now he's Trump no matter what, basically. I mean, it is completely about emotions.
Yeah, and I mean, the Democratic Party pushed out Joe Rogan. They called Joe Rogan a crazy conspiracy theorist, racist. Before it was, I mean, now it's probably justified, but before it was justified, Bernie Sanders went on Joe Rogan in 2020, and the Democratic Party and mainstream media cooked him. Like, they made it a topic of why Bernie is so sexist and racist, and why Bernie can't be president because he went on Joe Rogan, who is also a raging sexist. And then during the pandemic, the messaging on Joe Rogan became very alienating, and that was an extension of the entire left being alienating towards straight white men in general. And you're doing that towards Joe Rogan, who is like the biggest speaker to straight white men, and you can't do that and then wonder why straight white men are abandoning your party, especially when you're doing it on very flimsy pretenses. Because Joe Rogan really was known as that guy to talk about just like random stuff all the time, and he had Bernie on and he vibed with it. And now it's an issue because Joe Rogan's friends like Dana White, who work with UFC, they have business connections with Russia and Saudi Arabia. So you'll see Russia and their propaganda be shared on Joe Rogan's show. You'll see Joe Rogan repeat things from Saudi Arabia from their propaganda as well. And you could probably tie it all back to some money and also some socializing. So comedy. Comedians are against the left because of the cancel culture period. They cry about it way too much and it's annoying, but many comedians and that culture are against the left for that reason. And Joe Rogan is like the main representative of the podcasting, the straight white man, the comedy, although he's a terrible comedian. But yeah, he is like he's the white guy czar. I don't even know what the proper term would be. But yeah, there's a way to get someone like him on your side, and he was like he did have like liberal or democratic values, but the culture of the party really did reject him. I think during COVID, some of it was justified because he did just like go into anti-vaxxer conspiracy theories, but that did not happen until the extreme alienation from the left. Because Joe Rogan was having on like actual experts on pandemics, and then the left got crazy on and went hard at Rogan, who is not a very smart guy in general, and he says that himself. And that's fine. It's completely fine. But now Joe Rogan's being a complete hypocrite because now he's just being a political commentator now, which is something he said he would never be. So in general, like, yeah, it's a complicated mix of social issues, society, culture, and all of that stuff coming together. Identity things. Almost none of it is based on reality. Almost none of it is based on policy. It's all based on this like vibe analysis.
Yeah.
And it's very real. It is real. Don't get me wrong. It's not a fake thing. And I agree with a lot of the points they make. And I think Democrats need to get better in these areas for sure.
Like it's one thing to say that, because I deal with this a lot of the time with people who's around me. They'll say like Harris is a communist, and because they call Trump a fascist, and it's like, really? You're just gonna start blaming people for things they've said or done? And these are the same people who go to the cancel culture and just toss dirt on it.
Yeah. Yeah, you hear, and X.com and the propaganda on Twitter really does change people and ruin their brains. So that's a really bad issue. 90% of what I see on there is aggressively, and when I say racist, I don't mean normal racist. I mean these are people who are being purposely racist and saying I am racist, and the purpose of this message is to tell you that black people are not human and that Jewish people are controlling society, and I hate them both, and I want I want white people to take over. Like that's literally their entire prerogative. Like there's
it's there's something that I was watching a podcast that had Peter Jordison on, and he goes, the reason why we've had such this incline is because people aren't saying that to each other's face. It's some anonymous user now.
Yeah.
I mean,
no one needs to stand on it. A lot of these accounts are bot accounts, or they're fake accounts, or they're like, a lot of accounts on Twitter are just Elon Musk fake accounts that he goes on and he pretends to be someone else. So even that's like fraudulent. Like we can't even trust who's saying what. I think social media eventually is going to need more regulation on who can post on there. Not who can post, but just like making sure if someone's going to have a huge platform, we should probably have them do like an ID scan, just like you do with like a gambling website, or some states are doing that with porn websites. Basically, you need to have a program to make sure that there's real people on the internet. And not just AI bots talking to each other and spreading fake disinformation. Eagle Flown South
No, that
said, "Why do Democrats all sound and look like loser? PUSSIES. I don't curse on the stream because we're family friendly, but I guarantee you, you're around 12 inches shorter than me." But yeah, continue.
Adrian, I'm gonna go to that comment real quick. I am not a Democrat by any means. If we sound similar, we are probably opposite, pretty far apart. But I mean, that's sort of a weird comment. But the main thing with Musk buying Twitter is just who was controlling it. It wasn't, oh, we want free speech. It's who's controlling the free speech.
Sir Z, hey, talk about voter ID. I guarantee you, you don't know anything about how elections are run. Do you think people literally vote with 0 ID and 0 signatures? Do you know how people register to vote? Do you know how people mail in ballots? Do you know how that works? Do you know how the process works? In these secrecy envelopes, how they count these ballots, how they use programs to compare signatures to other signatures, and that's how they find fraud? Do you know how anything works at all? Or are you just going to keep on saying things over and over again that have no sense of reality in it? You should plan a time to call into my stream. I'll walk you down the entire process of how votes are counted in America through our decentralized process and why our elections are so safe, if you want to really talk about that. Because people don't just go and vote. Just because we don't make someone bring their birth certificate to the ballot box doesn't mean there's not 50 checks and balances to make sure, or it just doesn't mean there's not 50 checks to make sure someone is not fraudulently voting. Of course, yeah, verifying a social media account, yeah, you should need to do that. Just like you need to verify many things of importance. If you're going to be spreading disinformation on the internet, you should have to put a name to it. You should not be able to spread lies about things and about people without putting your name on it and without standing on business. You should not be able to do that.
And the other part about like all the voter ID things is, if you really think it's fake, why stay where you're at, where you can't change that? I mean, that's my view on that.
Yeah, it's it's kind of wild. Is anyone else in here? Wait a second. Oh, sorry.
Is anyone?
No, someone just joined the Discord server. But yeah, people act like there's one process. Even with counting ballots, people that say 2020 was stolen, they don't know, for example, in every polling location, there's representatives of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. There's lawyers everywhere verifying
There's like
the ballot counts.
3 sets of representatives of each party at each place.
Yeah. And also the voter ID issue and sorry for interrupting, but I just saw Caveman say this. The voter ID issue as well is Republicans want to have like an exclusive voter ID that's very restrictive, that's annoying to get, and that would disenfranchise voters who don't have the ability to access like a local DMV, or they don't want to spend money on another ID. And Republicans don't want to make it a free program. If you want to do voter ID, for example, where you need to bring ID to vote, in Pennsylvania, your first time voting, you need to bring some form of ID, whether it's a government-issued license, whether it's a utility bill. If you want to do voter ID and just make sure someone brings some kind of identification at all, that's a policy that many Democrats support. But what we don't support is a complicated system where we spend billions of dollars to address this voter fraud that doesn't exist, because there's no evidence of voter fraud. So you already want to propose a solution to a problem that you made up. You're fighting ghost over here. You're punching holes in the wall, drinking Monster or something. Like you're punching holes at the invisible ghost that you made up, the invisible boogeyman that you created already. And Republicans want to do it through the most convoluted possible way. If you want to just make it a requirement where you have to have some form of ID, a utility bill, driver's license, state issued ID, and there are voter IDs as well. If you want to make it all IDs just to verify who that person is, that's a fine policy. But Republicans are not talking about that. Yeah, no, Raceland. But like, just make it be your, and that's one of the issues where if you don't understand like different populations in the U.S. So like, urban environments, suburban, or rural, there's a bunch of different standards in these different locations. So
Yeah.
a lot of the time people don't have a driver's license or a regular ID. So other ID that counts as military, other ID that counts as like a utility bill with your name on it, an official utility bill. A school ID counts in some states. So it's just some form of ID. That's probably what the policy should be if we had to do some type of voter ID. Just like any ID that verifies who you are would probably be the way to do it.
For where I'm at, you can either just you can just take your driver's license in, or they send you a voter ID identification. It's
Yeah.
not both, it's just one of the two.
Yeah, and that's completely that processes like that are so much more streamlined and easier. But yeah, what Republicans want to do would disenfranchise because they want to change policies at the last second. If Republicans said today we want to roll out a voter ID and we're going to send it to every American household for free and register everyone to vote automatically and give a buffer time that's longer before the election to make sure everyone has their stuff, and help people cure their ballots and all that kind of stuff, that'd be great. But Republicans do all these policies that suppress vote. They want to suppress the vote. They want less people to be voting. They want to target blue areas. That's like in Texas, for example, Paxton or whatever. He openly just says that. That's the goal of their policies. So yeah, I mean, there's ways to do this in a sober way, but Republicans, like usual, they don't go for that sober solution typically.
Yeah. I just
you need ID to
amazes
drive
me
to
with
the wait.
Yeah, that is true. You do need ID to drive to the polls. Unless you walk.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing too. It impacts lower income communities, especially communities of color, which don't have that many polling places near them. And like Texas would remove polling places from areas that have a lot of poor people of color on purpose because they know that area would vote Democrat. Along with gerrymandering, there's a lot of different practices that they do to disenfranchise voters, and the way they want to do voter ID is not an honest attempt at it. But yeah, like I said, in Pennsylvania, your first time voting, there's a whole list of what do you need, what ID do you need first time voting in PA. Essentially, all the forms of ID you can bring. Which even after this, there's a lot of different forms of identification. But if you have these IDs be accepted, so Pennsylvania driver's license, a state ID card, a photo ID issued by Pennsylvania or U.S. government, a U.S. passport or passport card, a student ID for high school, college, or university, military ID, employee ID, so it could be from your employer. You could use non-photo ID, such as a voter registration card. You can use a firearm permit. Caveman will like that, right, Caveman? You like that, Caveman? You could do firearm permits to be a form of ID, a non-photo ID issued by the U.S. government, or a current utility bill. You can even use a bank statement or a pay stub. If you did that policy, that'd be fine. If you wanted to have that be your voter ID, I'd be fine with that. Wait,
yeah.
What Raceland? What's wrong in California?
He just wants you to look it up for the California one.
I did my research, Cersei. Look up voting. That is voting. That is to vote. You have to take that to vote. I don't know what you're talking about. California Universal what, Raceland? DM, you sound like such a loser, bro. I know who you are, DM. Let's see, Texas voter ID law. Now, Texas has issues with the drop boxes and polling locations being thrown out and purging voter rolls. So they'll get rid of polling places in specific areas. And Paxton bragged about that. And that's the thing too, each state is different. So Texas is driver's license, state state ID, election
what I'm
ID,
reading
or
from
certificate,
California
passport,
is
citizenship, handgun license, military identification. Let's see. So yeah, if you added the other forms, so like a pay stub, as well as proof of address, even if it's, wait, do they allow that? Let's see. Yeah, that'd be fine.
Let's see here. For California, it's driver's license, ID card number for California, and
Oh, I forgot the Save
last
Act.
4 digits of social security.
It's the Save Act. I forgot about that too, because the Save Act wants to mandate that individuals provide documented proof of U.S. citizenship when registering to vote in federal elections. That was the really dumb policy. The Save Act was the really dumb policy. And by the way, you don't need to be an American citizen to vote in local elections. You can't vote in federal elections, but some states allow you to vote in local elections because many immigrants who are not citizens still pay taxes, and they still live in communities and are neighbors and drive to work every morning. So they vote in city councils, they vote in town boroughs, and they count in a bunch of they vote in a bunch of different elections that are not for federal elections.
Yeah. So, speaking of elections.
Yeah, Raceland,
think
but just to respond to comment, sorry, to Raceland. But Raceland, the issue is, like, the Save Act. Look up the Save Act. That's a huge overreach. And that's usually what Republicans try to do, and they try to sneak other stuff in there to make it harder for people to vote.
Well, what they're really trying to do is just make it so far out there that when it comes time for when they actually do what they want to do, it's not so bad. Or it doesn't seem so bad.
Wait, Cersei, I didn't change my position at all. I did not change my position. I don't know what you're talking about for me being wrong about something. Let me see. Harder for non-citizens to vote. They already cannot vote in federal elections. It would make it harder for everyone to vote. And then if you require citizenship proof whenever anyone votes, then you are restricting the form of ID people can bring. It's just the Save Act is purely just a political football. Like they introduced the Save Act for politics.
Yeah.
And
yeah, every state requires some form of ID. Even California.
Yeah, you don't need to. So California, you need to have ID to register to vote. You have to have a signature check, which will be all the forms of ID we talked about. But you don't need an ID to vote. Oh wait, 1 second. Yeah, you need to verify your identity to be a registered voter. Yeah.
So as long as your identity is not stolen.
I don't know who's gonna, and that's the thing too. It's just like
Yeah,
people don't risk time in federal prison to vote one extra time in federal elections. That's just like not something anyone does. Like there's no reason, even if you like to conduct a voter fraud operation that would be able to swing any race anywhere, it would be so easy to detect that we'd have hundreds of people going to federal prison. Like it's just something that doesn't happen for a reason. Like. And there is verification in every state, but it's just like I said before, it's Republicans trying to pass a solution for a problem they invented. Like in 2020, they still cannot point towards any cases of voter fraud, and that's the #1 reason they want to pass more like voter ID or whatever. Is because of 2020 and because they want to.
That's time they lose.
Wait, unless they don't get prosecuted, California doesn't prosecute. If you vote illegally in a federal election, you realize that's not the state then. Like, I don't think people know there's different laws at states and federal.
I'm not 100% sure on all that, but I'm going to trust what you're saying on that one. Because I've always known it as states deal with how voting is done.
Oh yeah, and also the only cases of voter fraud that we know about are from Trump voters, voting for their dead relatives, or Trump voters trying to hack voter machines. Like one of Trump's allies tried hacking a voter machine in like Arizona. The only actual cases of voter fraud we have are on the right wing, because and someone made the comment. Wait, who said that? That was a really good comment. You might get people willing to do voter fraud, but it's more likely to be the one with the cult leader at the head of the ticket. 100%, because no rational person who is trying to steal an election would ever do voter fraud and risk federal prison, and try to defraud it. The only people who would do that are people who are like, you know, in a sort of cult mentality where they need to do anything to support their dear leader that they possibly can. Really good message, by the way, whoever just Twilight Onion.
I'm trying to find that one.
Well, it's a really good one. If anyone else wants to, oh wait, it's gonna be 2 a.m. Is there anyone who disagrees with me who wants to talk in chat? If not, by the way, hit subscribe, drop a like on the video. Make sure you become a channel member for $2.99. Raceland said, I do think there should be some kind of ID at the ballot box. I don't see the problem with it. Non-citizens could get through and vote. Otherwise, it just wouldn't matter. I mean, I don't... If you find, like... I'm not going to pass a national policy and spend billions of dollars to institute something or to make it harder for poll workers who already have a really crappy job when the voter fraud accounts for, like, as far as what you're saying right now, the hypothetical you are talking about is legitimately, like, I can't even think of a percent point low enough to say how little that happens. It literally is like 1 out of, I don't even know. It's probably out of 180 million votes or whatever, it's probably like 2 to 10. Like, I don't even know. And if there was a race that was literally down to a couple vote difference, then those cases would be found. So it's like the level of auditing, if a race was ever that close, is insane. And you're always going to have some level of, like, whether it's 5 votes here or 50 votes there, there's going to be some inconsistencies, even just at like a human error level. But there's no justification for a massive nationwide reconstruction of how we do our voting process, especially when, like I said, every reason we do catch fraud when it happens, but every concern that they're using as justification is based off of the 2020 election lie. So, like, I'm not going to waste taxpayer dollars on that.
Speaking of elections, what do you think the next swing states will be for 28?
Someone said, oh yeah, I'm sorry, the next swing states. Someone said, imagine thinking 80% of voting fraud is okay, and imagine making the stats up on the spot in your head because you can't be bothered to actually look it up. Okay, I'll look it up. I'll look it up. I'll look it up. Any percent of voter fraud doesn't matter. Okay, buddy. I don't know if you live in a 2-year-old's reality where you think everything's going to be perfect all the time, but of course there's going to be some issues in every system you ever institute. Hand sanitizer kills 99.999% of germs. I'm sorry it can't kill 100%. But when you talk about the actual impact to the world, and by the way, I know you're going to cry about any government program that spends $5 on anything. When you talk about actually, actual impact on the world, it's a net zero. It's zero influence on how the world operates or how elections turn out. Not even close. It would need to increase by, here, let's look. Okay. By the way, like I said, every case of voter fraud is found on the Trump voter side as well. And I still am not talking about cracking down on them because I know they get caught because our systems are very, very secure and our system is very decentralized. So it's very hard to manipulate anything in our system. Finding inconsistencies is super easy in America because it's county by county, municipality by municipality, precinct to precinct. Like, these things are reported through so many channels. It's so easy to catch fraud. And no one, like I said, is going to risk how many years in jail?
Way too many.
Yeah, exactly. Especially for something that can't change anything about elections. It's just like...
He did say 80% of votes were fraudulent, right?
Yeah, he said, like, Trump's percent, you mean?
No, like, he said just 80% of all votes cast was fraudulent, right?
Who said that?
Because mathematics, the person you were talking about. Because then
I'm not sure. No, they said any percent. Sorry, it was any percent, not 80.
Oh, any. Oh, okay.
So, Pennsylvania, for example, Pennsylvania over over 30 years. Okay, 30 years. Pennsylvania has found 39 cases of voter fraud. 39 cases in 30 years. And it's like, yeah, it's like, okay, it's okay, it's okay. Yeah. There's so many other things we can talk about. Republicans are talking about this for political reasons. It's just
more voter fraud in the 1800s in one election than in 30 years.
Yeah, we also need to not fall into the trap of correcting people who cannot provide evidence for their own claims. Because I do that a lot, where I'm looking up information about these claims, and they get their information from Twitter and conspiracy theories, and then I do all this work to investigate it. But, like, if you're making a claim, the burden of the evidence should be on them. Like, it should be on them to prove this voter fraud.
Yeah.
And every example people bring up to me, I can debunk in seconds. Even Dinesh Sizua, for example, is a conservative commentator. Does anyone know Dinesh Sizua?
No, I
think that's
don't.
how you say his name. That's how you say his name, I think. Someone Trump pardoned. He's a financial fraudster. He put out a book about the 2020 election called like Mules or something. And he just came out and apologized for lying in it, essentially. 2000. It was called 2000 Mules. It was about like voters and voting lies, and he lied about it. Rudy Giuliani admit that he lied about voter fraud. Everyone in Trump's team admit that they lied about voter fraud knowingly. Yeah.
I think the only person who actually believes there was voter fraud is Trump himself.
I don't think he even believes it, honestly. I think he's just lying too. But he wants people to believe it.
I could see him just being, oh yeah, there was voter fraud because I lost. I mean, like, I could actually see him believing there was voter fraud.
Maybe. But there's evidence that he, in testimony, like, under oath, we have had people say that he knew that there was no voter fraud. And we have the quote about, he was talking to Mike Pence, and he said that Mike Pence is too honest because Mike Pence didn't want to accept the fake slate of electors and overturn the 2020 election when Trump tried overturning it. So Trump said to Pence, "You're way too honest for this," which in itself is an admission that that Trump was not being honest.
Yeah.
Before Trump caused January 6th to happen.
Adaptable American. What happened to them is we have fluctuations in the number of people who vote year by year. And no, it was not by 20 million. It was only by about 5 million people didn't vote this time around.
Someone said Kamala lost every state that had voter ID laws. Fact. Wow.
Well,
Thank you.
that's not true. That's not true.
Lost
She would have
every
lost
state.
California then.
Well,
She would have lost
no,
California.
they mean voter
Really?
ID laws like when they vote. Like if you need ID to go vote.
Well, I need vote.
Well, apparently, Pennsylvania, you don't need an ID to vote. So apparently, apparently Pennsylvania. I don't know how Trump won that, dude. With all the fraud in Pennsylvania, I don't know how Trump won it since you don't need ID to vote after the first time. Because you only need ID. You need ID to vote for the first time in Pennsylvania, and then you don't need ID anytime after that. So apparently, Pennsylvania was a good exception to that. That's pretty good. Trump just stopped the steal. He won too big to rig. That's what Trump says, right? You have 2 YouTube lives going. Which one should we watch? Well, Mr. Popular, this time of night when it gets this late, we're just like talking. We're just having like random conversations. But usually I'll be doing like a video reaction. So some people, YouTube Shorts gets the most impressions because people just flip through it and find the stream and get mad and start commenting, and that's how we get our audience to grow typically. But if I'm doing a video reaction, you can watch the horizontal one. The YouTube Shorts is always going to have a bigger audience. So like yesterday we had around 700 concurrent viewers, like 500 viewers, 700 viewers the entire night, pretty much. on YouTube Shorts and only around like 20 to 30 in horizontal. So horizontal is really for people who want to see like the whole screen. But you could watch on whatever. Wait, Cersei. Okay, Cersei, please. Okay, those 20 million votes went back to sleep underground. I guess. Okay, Cersei, you need to keep. Okay, I'm being completely honest. Okay, I need you to keep watching this channel. I need you to stick around, because the fact you repeated the lie about 20 million votes being lost means you are consuming content from the worst corners of the internet, and you are believing the worst conspiracy theories and the dumbest conspiracy theories. And you need to follow this channel so we can save you. Because the fact that you can't go Google for yourself what the vote count is right now and compare it to 2020 is frightening. And you need to either become more honest, talk to God, or you need to talk to a therapist. Like one of the two. You got to be honest with God in the mirror, or you got to find God, or you find a therapist. Both pray and find God. Therapist. We need all three for you. We need the Holy Trinity. The entire Holy Trinity needs to come down and descend upon you to fix your fractured mind. We need to save you.
Yeah.
Cersei, it's not funny. You know what, Cersei? It's not funny. It's not funny at all, because people come in here unironically saying that, the people that agree with you. And you agree just as dumb conspiracy theories, you don't even know it. And guess what? I'm posting that as a clip, and I'm going to say that you believed it, because I spread propaganda, and you just got clipped. Good luck. Now we're going to make fun of you. 7 million is the same thing. Where did they go?
It's called fluctuations in number.
I'm kidding,
of people
Cersei.
who vote.
Cersei, don't cry. I'm kidding. We're friends. I'm serious. We're friends. It's 7 million votes that are missing. Oh, wow. Dude, in 2012 versus 2008, we had 4 million votes that were missing, guys. Oh, no, dude. Mitt Romney, they rigged it against Mitt Romney in 2012, bro. Shoot. Oh no, they rigged it, bro. They lost all these votes in 2012. Every presidential election where there were less votes than the one before that, they lost the votes. They just disappeared. That's amazing, bro. Somehow okay. If we want to be honest, it's very impressive. It's very awesome. It's actually insane how Democrats somehow rigged the 2020 election when Trump was president. But now in 2024, with Joe Biden as president, they failed to rig the election. They lost all these votes. That's insane. The Democrats are so powerful beyond our wildest imaginations. They were able to rig the election while not being president, but not rig the election. It's like they need to be underdogs, bro. They need to be underdogs. It's some type of anime about the underdog coming up and like they need to just be at a disadvantage to win. They need a hand in their face when they're shooting to make a shot. Like Democrats cannot hit an open jumper. Wow, dude. They rigged it from the outside and couldn't rig it with Joe Biden in. That's crazy. Thank you for sharing that with me. That's so amazing, bro. Obviously, it's because Republicans were guarding the polls. Yeah, dude. Definitely. How come there are more votes than 1796? That's right. Why are there more votes in 2024 than 1796? Why is no one talking about this, bro? Why is no one talking about this, bro? There were even less votes before we had elections. There were 0 votes. Why are we not talking about this? Oh, people think there were more poll watchers. Oh, the poll watchers that were there in 2022, the Democratic, lawyers and the Republican lawyers that were in the room in 2020 as well. You don't know about them. You don't know about that. You don't know about that. You really don't know. Wow, you really have bought into this grand narrative. You got to follow my channel. We're going to save you. We're going to save you, buddy. We're going to save you.
See what else we get.
More. Okay, buddy. Hey, Maximus. He said there were more votes in 2012 than in 2008. Literally. Did you just not Google it? Did you just not Google it? Are you just talking out your ass? Do you really just make stuff up that effort? Like, what are you doing? Barack Obama got 69.5 million votes in 2008. John McCain got 59.9 million. In 2012, Obama got 66 million votes. And Mitt Romney got 61 million votes. There were less votes in 2012, bro. Obama got like 4 million less votes in 2012 than in 2008. I already knew that number because I looked it up before, but you just make things up. Look at third-party candidates. Oh, we're looking at third-party candidates. Yes, the third-party candidates rigged the election. You're right.
That
you're
so
a genius.
mattered.
There were still
2%.
less total votes. There were still 2 million less votes cast in 2012 than 2008. There were still less votes cast. There were still less. So what you said is still a lie and false and fake and fraudulent.
If you really think third-party candidates are going to swing the direction of how an election is going without dividing a party, you must be saying a joke.
Yeah. And also, when you look at like the percent difference in like the vote decrease, it's not as major as people think it is either. Because we have like when you have, so like right now, if it's 158 million votes in 2020 or in 2020, and then 151.5 million votes in 2024, that percent difference and that change, if we had to rank like, let's see,
150. Wait. Yeah.
And after COVID, which COVID got everyone voting, not only because of mail-in ballots, but because COVID was happening and killing so many people. And Trump, we had 5% of the world's population and 20% of the world's death. We had, it's like, you know, people were motivated to come out and get Trump out of office. Like,
pretty sure that's like a 0.009% change. I probably did my math completely wrong, but
there's actually a lot of elections that had less votes. Historic elections had a lot of, had high turnout. Especially the historic ones had really high turnout.
even this one's been higher than most of them, wasn't it?
Simpicus Maximus. Someone named Simpicus Maximus said low T and low IQ coping. Coming from the guy at 2 a.m. commenting on a YouTube short stream. Imagine doing that. Like, come on. Everyone else, I love you, by the way. You're cool. You're commenting on my stream and I like it. But him, he's a loser. Like, why would you do that? Like, what are you doing? At least I have like 300 people watching and we're just like chatting. Like, what are you doing? Come on, I want these numbers too.
Here. That's not the right one.
Cersei, I like you a lot, buddy. I like you, Cersei. You're way better than Simpicus, whatever his name is. I have high T and low IQ, or you have high T and low IQ. I actually do have like way too much testosterone, though. To be honest, I have way too much, and I don't like it because.
Wow, that's.
I have hair everywhere, and my hair on my head's falling off.
There was less of a turnout. Wait.
I'll be thinking about you all day, Simpicus Maximus. You're right. Are you fantasizing about me thinking about you all day, Simpicus? Well, that's kind of weird, bro. Why are you thinking about that? Why did you even think about me thinking about you? Like, do you want me to?
Okay, let's see here. So back to the question I was going to ask you. What do you think the new swing states will be for 2028?
The same ones, Pennsylvania. I don't know if there's going to be any new ones. It's hard to really say. I think Iowa might get back into play. If Trump does his tariffs, there's a decent chance farmers turn against him and big agriculture. If he, I don't think he's actually going to, but if he somehow banned high fructose corn syrup, which is a dumb thing to ban. By the way, I need some chat answers for this. High fructose corn syrup, like big agriculture is not going to like that at all. And tariffs are going to hurt farmers too, especially soybean farmers. So I can see a state like Iowa getting into play more so. Ohio is going to get more red. I can see Pennsylvania being a toss-up completely. Michigan probably is going to get more blue, especially because Michigan's going to see the outcomes of Trump's presidency. Michigan actually was pretty blue, but they're going to see a lot of the voters that voted Trump because of wars are going to see that was a lie. Georgia depends on the laws.
I think
North Carolina depends on the laws too. North Carolina could be more blue, but North Carolina's government is insane. They just passed laws today to take power away from governments or away from Democrats in government. So they literally passed a bill just to take powers away from the governor and away from every Democratic politician. Like the bill targets the politicians directly. Just Democrats, and the governor vetoed it, but the Republican Senate, I think, overturned the veto. North Carolina is insane with their voter laws. Georgia is insane with their voter laws. Florida is insane. Texas is insane. So yeah, I think it's going to be relying
Florida
on
wasn't because of
Pennsylvania and stuff
2020.
still.
Florida was because of 2000.
Well, Florida voting laws are bad just because Ron DeSantis wants to be mini Trump. So DeSantis is doing a lot of Trump stuff there. But yeah.
Well, the other part was the 2000 election. Because we don't want a repeat of that.
Well, we basically,
did.
2020 was a lot worse than 2000. And people are okay with it somehow. If you look at Republican presidents, like George Bush did not win. Like Al Gore won. Trump did not win. Hillary Clinton won. It's only a blowout this election because Trump won the popular vote by a little bit. Like a Republican winning the popular vote by like 2 million. By 1%. By 1% is a huge deal for them because they always lose the popular vote. Make sure if you're watching, drop a like on the stream, hit subscribe. I'm winding down here. We're gonna be hopping off soon, but thank you for watching. We still have 200 viewers right now, but yeah, please drop a like and subscribe. I should play Sonic now, actually. I play Sonic every night before I get off, so I got to do that real quick. And you can feel free to talk now. Sorry.
For me, I'm thinking that Georgia and North Carolina, those will be safe Republican, just because of how they've done. I think New Hampshire will go back into being swing, just because of how it went this time. It was only a 2-point difference when Pennsylvania had the same difference. Or in fact, Nevada had a larger amount of difference than that.
We had Obama won Iowa and wait, did Obama win Indiana? Wait.
He won. No, he did that.
Wait, he won. Wait.
Did he win Indiana?
I feel like he did.
I want to say
Indiana.
yes.
Yeah, he won Iowa and Indiana. He won Ohio, Indiana, and Iowa. That's crazy. And North Carolina. Obama. Really good at what he does. Powerful.
There's a path for Virginia to become a swing, but I don't know if it can actually make it there in 4 years.
I don't think so. I don't know. It's all about the media. If people get correct information in their brains, they're gonna be voting Democrat. If they don't, if Republicans are able to control the propaganda space, then they're gonna be able to win. It's just if Trump really messes up, then Democrats can have really good midterms. It really there's so much.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump might
Well,
just not
from
do
what
anything
I've
too. He might be bluffing. So I don't know.
yeah, from what I've heard of what Democrats are planning is they're trying. This was a couple news articles. They plan to side with Trump-ish. If things go well, they'll take some of the credit for it, and if it doesn't go well, blame Trump for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which
well,
I
Trump's gonna take credit for everything Biden did. Like, cause the Chips and Jobs Act or the Chips and Science Act and a bunch of other things Biden did, Trump's gonna be able to get credit for it, even though he didn't do anything.
Okay, how do we still have some of these states at 99% recording? Actually, all these states
My
are 99%.
Sonic's lagging today. Why is it lagging? Does Sonic lag every day, guys? Is Sonic like an everyday lagging thing? I did not know it was lagging like this. I'm watching OBS right now. I'll have to play on my Xbox. My computer can't handle it, dude. I'm gonna have to crowdfund a new computer.
I don't see it lagging.
Wait, it's not like the game isn't. Are you watching the shorts stream or the big one?
The shorts.
Okay, it's probably too small to see it then on the shorts.
Let me look at the big one. Oh crap! It is lagging bad.
Oof. I'll have to fix
It's
that.
a slideshow.
That's okay. Trump being president just had peace talks with the Middle East. See, people just don't.
That's
people will believe anything because they don't know like how things work. So if Trump just like says things, they're gonna believe it. So I don't know how to really combat that. If you're just gonna believe anything he tells you, then I don't know what to tell him.
well, I got an early start tomorrow, so I probably should head out.
Yeah, have a good night. Thanks for hopping on. I'm gonna try to make
See ya.
the stream stop lagging. All right, have a good one. See ya. Let me try this. Let's do a game capture. I'm an original Bernie Sanders. I'm an original Bernie, bro. Be honest. Okay, game capture, properties. Let's see if this works better. No, that's still lagging. Wow. That's not good. Are you a communist? No. I wish. I wish I could be that cool. Oh yeah, that's operating at like 0 frames per second. Alright, I'm gonna finish this level, get off. One more level, get off. Why I keep missing that jump right there? Teamsters voting Trump? Yeah. Teamsters really did do that. I mean, Trump appointed a pretty pro-union person, so I mean, who knows? Maybe Trump's gonna be a union hero, man. Trump's gonna be a union hero. Or he'll just convince them he's a union hero. He could, I don't know, cut their wages and they'll believe. I don't know. Oh, I messed up. Oh, I got it. Thank God. Bryce is back to Glaze Newsom. Maybe I might have to turn the graphics down on this game, maybe. The highly graphically intense Sonic the Hedgehog game. I am playing at Ultra, so I mean, could be. Ooh, I think I missed a shortcut there. Not really sure. Not my best work, but we'll take it. What's my best time on this level? I wish I was like Sonic collecting gold. True. Thank you all for subscribing and watching. Have a good night. Howdy.
Makes the bookshelves, and I'm gonna be the one to grow the tomatoes. Like, and like you have no taxes, no everybody.
I want to grow
defends the
tomatoes,
society.
dude.
It's fine. Yeah, what's up?
What are you talking about?
We're just. I was talking.
We're talking about communists and ANCAPs.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking. Rayson was just telling us about how much he loves and thinks communism is based.
Hell yeah.
And I was strongly disagreeing with him because this is America and we're capitalists.
Yeah.
No, we're saying how in ideal and principle, both of them aren't like terrible, but in practice they're pretty terrible. Like
no, just
it's like an idealistic.
It's just scale. This is why like those kibbutzes in Israel work, like where you can have like a communist society where everybody just kind of pitches in. There's no money, no anything like that.
I like communism more than ANCAPism, whatever.
Well, true, but I'll even say that ANCAP is just ANCAP's basically saying like what was that? There was like not an old show, but there was a show where it was basically like corporations around the world, and I'm like that would be so much worse than any authoritarian.
At least communists are like kids and they just love everyone sometimes. Sometimes.
I think they kind of result in the same thing though, like communism and ANCAPism, which is one like a totalitarian government like that controls everything. I mean,
yeah, it's ANCAPism is just or ANCAP society is basically just neo-feudalism. And they'll get so mad when you tell them that, but there's like no other way to square it.
But like your friend group though, if you wanted your friend group to model one, I'd rather like commies because they're like about community and sharing things and loving each other though. Like ANCAP is like very self-serving typically. Like even more so.
Yeah, they're all about sharing things, but they don't have shit.
Yeah, what's wrong with being selfish, man? Why are you hating on my girl Ayn Rand?
There's nothing wrong with being selfish if you have shit, brother. If you don't got shit, it sucks to be selfish. That's all I'm saying. Like.
I'm taking this 8 values political test that Caveman told me about.
Caveman influenced this shit already. He already ruined it.
I'm gonna say I'm a communist.
Yeah,
I would be really mad.
Yeah, I'm gonna do mine once I hit 10K. I'll do the compass and I'll do the other one, the spectrum one.
Yours is gonna come out as MAGA Republican.
True.
Hello.
It's actually fun to try and answer in certain ways too, to like try and get people that you think it would be.
You have to try really hard not to get somewhere like either libertarian left or libertarian right on the political compass test.
Or you got to be really scary.
No, it was it was Blair White who did the test, and then she literally was. Everybody was saying, "Wait a minute." She looked for results that were more in line of what she wanted to be, because like when they looked at her code or whatever, it came up as like libertarian left, and she was mad about that.
This Karl Marx quote keeps coming up on these tests. From each according to his ability to each according to his needs.
Marx,
I'm trying to see how easily swayed you are by filthy communist ideas.
Marx is good. Like it's not like it's a.
Each
it
according to his
doesn't work in
ability,
practice.
each according to his needs.
The criticism of communism is never that it's like an evil thing; it's that it can't work.
It's that it doesn't work.
If communism could work and everyone could just like, if everyone wasn't selfish,
it can't be scaled. Like
if it worked, it'd work. We'd like it. We'd all be for it.
I'll even say this, and I don't know if we'd ever be able to get this technology, but I'm kind of agree with Star Trek here. Like until we get like matter synthesis, scarcity is always going to make it so that to scale you can't like do a state
and artificial scarcity too.
Oh, so yeah, but then if everybody,
I don't think
if everybody matters in
society
society, you can't even artificially create scarcity.
Classless society. Well, you could have
classless society is just an oxymoron. I don't think it can happen.
Well, we could have no class, but there could be just like two classes though. There would still be classes.
Have you seen My Family Reunion?
No.
Talking about classless societies.
No, but I mean everyone has a hierarchy of needs, so which automatically creates classes.
But the idea is that like people's most basic needs, like food and shelter, would not be problems anymore because you could literally just like create your own food, which would be based. I would love a matter synthesizer. Just be like one Big Mac, and then it just appears. It'd be fucking based.
I mean, I don't know.
And then all the people who are like really prone to like alcoholism, like they just wouldn't have anything to stop them.
And the only reason that would matter about having that is that you could do it yourself. Because right now you have more than enough resources, obviously, to make that possible for every human. Just not enough of the organization. Whoa! I'm
when am I supposed to debate that kid about?
Where am I going? My Sonic game just glitched out. What the hell?
Oh no.
Okay, what were you saying?
That kid with the face, your mom's favorite face seat thing. I don't know. When did you want that debate to happen on your show?
Maybe Sunday or something. I don't really. I don't. That was just like an idea for a little fun thing. It could happen. Whenever.
I'm excited to roast the child, so just let me know.
The debate Thunderdome. Let's go.
Yeah. I play rugby on Saturday.
Tree Ninja, I'm sure that Joel has got his own perspective on the pardoning thing with Hunter Biden. My position would be, I don't like it, but Trumpers don't have a leg to stand on criticizing it.
If Trump did not exist, it'd be a really bad thing.
I'm a Trumper. I can be your Trumper.
I can be your Huckleberry.
But you have to.
I'll
but
be
you
your
still
like
Uncle
the Barden Biden. Do you like
what?
the Barden Biden? Do you like the Barden part?
I mean,
the Biden pardon.
I understand it. If I was a father, I'd buy. Like I can't blame the guy for pardoning his son. Like
the charges were dumb.
I'm not gonna hate him. Well, I mean, so were Trump's. But I mean,
no,
it's fine. Yeah.
There's like.
So I agree. It depends on if you think transporting a hooker across state lines and doing cocaine off.
No, there's 90. There's like 92
like,
cases we can look through at Trump though. There's 92. If you want to say they're all.
Dude,
fake,
literally,
that's just not
36 of them was blown up from one check charge. Like literally, like it's. Oh, dude.
If you don't care
do
about
we really
white collar
think
crime,
he's
that's
worth
fine.
the Capone? Do we really think he's worth the Capone?
He was talking about pardons, I think.
Wait, what?
Were you talking about Trump's crimes, or were you talking about pardoning other people for white collar crimes? Jolah?
No,
both.
Jolah said that Hunter's charges were drawn up or whatever, and then
Oh yeah,
said so were Trump's.
Hunter Biden's charges were definitely like super trumped up. The prosecutor Trump put in the place to literally go after the Bidens. Biden kept that person. Biden's own DOJ investigated Biden himself. And Biden was doing the whole decorum thing until Kash Patel came out and became, you know, the expected FBI director. And even with Hunter, with the gun form charges and also what was the other thing? Just back taxes. They had a plea deal, which is very normal for someone who's like an addict, and they threw it out. The Trump judge threw it out on purpose, and they essentially said, and Kash Patel said this, he said, we're going to find a way to bring Hunter Biden into court for federal crimes for the rest of his life. And that's one of the reasons Biden did the blanket pardon for 11 years. If Trump's White House was not going to go so crazy with the DOJ, Biden definitely does not do this. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so did he say previously that he wasn't going to pardon his son?
Yeah, definitely.
So he's a liar, right?
Yeah.
No, a lot of things changed.
Okay.
He said he trusted the justice system.
Right?
He said he
So he's a
trusted
liar,
Hey, don't be a 5-year-old. Okay,
He
he said
made
he
this-
trusted.
they've already-
Hey,
it's
listen.
come out that
Hey, no. Okay, he said he trusted the justice system at the time.
That he was going to keep it on the table, but lie and say that they were going to not.
He said
do
he
it.
trusted the justice system at the time. A lot of things have changed with the justice system. So even with what he said at that time, I agree the
So he
Democrats should not have been
trusts
using
the
that as a
justice system as long
virtuous
as he's
thing.
in charge of it.
No,
Right.
it's not. No, because he kept the Trump DOJ. He allowed the DOJ to investigate him that Trump put in charge. He allowed that to continue on purpose.
You talking about Barr?
No, the
What are we talking
special attorney that was designated to go after Hunter Biden. I forget his name. But that's why they investigated Biden's own family. But Biden was focused on decorum and not appearing partisan. And Caveman could.
I have a question. Do you think that Hunter Biden took a stripper across straight lines?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I think he did. Now, should that be illegal? No.
Okay, well that's a different. I don't even know what we're talking about now.
Yeah,
that's like
Dude, that's what they got him for with gun charges and crossing state lines with a
No,
prostitute.
the
That's
two
what they got him
charges
for.
that the two
And I'm
current
pro
charges were
both of
for
those things.
the two current charges were lying on a ATF form saying that he was not doing drugs.
Oh, yeah.
They found something in his memoir
about that one.
about him doing drugs. They used something from his memoir to bring him back in, and also it was because of back taxes he didn't pay.
I
Those
have
are the
no
two
issue with
current cases.
crackheads or dope fiends lying on government.
And I'm sure you don't care about tax
it's none of their
evaders either,
business.
right? You don't care about tax evaders.
Not really. It depends on the tax evader, but yeah.
You're Hunter
not
Biden.
really.
You are
So,
Hunter
yeah,
Biden in a different
I'm
life.
pro Hunter Biden. I would have rather had Hunter Biden as president than Joe. At least he's an artist.
An
So.
I mean, I would disagree with that take. I think that like Florida, yeah.
Okay,
Well,
Mommy
because
Steve, which one would win up in a race upstairs? Joe or his son Hunter? Which one would win?
Joe or Trump?
Oh, God.
Well, I mean, obviously, I mean, I personally think that on top of like the Hunter Biden pardon, I think Hunter Biden's pardon is infinitely less bad than Michael Flynn. Like, I think just that alone is just Michael Flynn alone is already worse. Like, there was a bunch of other ones too that were
Just one thing, just one thing before I'm gonna play Sonic. But one thing, the thing I hate about the world too is I want to call out. I hate corruption. Okay, I hate corruption. I hate it so bad, but I literally cannot talk about it because of Trump. Like I literally just cannot do it because I will if I go out and say like, oh yeah, the Hunter Biden pardon was bad. Then I talk to a Trump supporter and
I
they'll
just
say
straight
like,
up do that.
no, I'm
I
just saying,
straight up do
no,
that. You'll
okay,
get it
but
to
what
the
I'm saying is
bottom,
if I talk
yeah.
to a Trump supporter, they'll just be like, oh yeah, well, they're both equal. That's the best I'll get from them. So I can't even talk about it in an honest way. So I don't even want to talk about it with a Trump supporter because it comes to the point of like Trump literally pardoned war criminals because Betsy DeVos's brother owns BlackRock. And it's like a million other things as well. The pardons are insane that Trump did. And it's like, I can't even talk about corruption because the people who are doing the most corruption right now are like proud of it. And they're proud that they can get away acting like they're the hero of the people. That's not
Didn't he pardon guys that committed like war crimes?
Yeah, no, the BlackRock people in 2007, there was a massacre where they just gunned down civilians. They got tried in American court and they got convicted. One of them got life in prison for first-degree murder. The others got manslaughter. Do you know how hard it is? You know how hard it is as a private contracting group in America to get charged with war crimes, bro? You know how hard that is? You have to be doing some bad things, dude. And Trump just randomly pardons them in 2020 because he's best friends with Bessie DeVos, and Bessie DeVos' brother owns Blackwater.
No, I think you have a perspective issue. I think like that's if the goal is to convince Trump supporters that already back him the way they do, and like at this point, anyone who backs Trump either is a neocon and has no clue, and they're never online because they're like 80, or B, they know all these things, they just don't want to believe it. When you talk about these things, you want to get the other people in the population. So like it's to create gateways kind of a thing to where it's like, hey, you don't want to be with these people, you want to come with us, because also too, I think people to remember, what was it, like less than half the country voted in the last election. I think it was like 70, how many votes was it total? It was like 72 to like 60 something? Was it like 72 to 75?
Wait, this election?
Yeah, this past election. It was like
I just looked it up. It's like
million between both candidates, right?
It's 77,193 to 74,898.
Okay, so yeah, like either way, like point being is you have 350 million Americans. Like we still have a large population, like we could convince. So when you talk about these things, you don't want to talk about it to Trump supporters because they're either too far gone or too stubborn to understand the information. You want to talk about it in a general YouTube video kind of space. That way you get people who may not be aware of these things to then be like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
this
dude, those idiots
like,
who want tax breaks and lower fucking gas
This guy's
prices.
paid off by the owner of GTI.
If they think Trump's going to get them lower gas prices, they actually are, unironically, they have no idea how the world works. If they think Trump's going to get lower gas prices.
Brother, I'll bet you.
No, yeah, that's why I'm like, that's why I'm actually
$1
so fucking pissed. That's why I'm so pissed that Trump won. Because because I'm growing YouTube channel right now too, and I hopefully was gonna start to be able to save up enough money to, because the houses are dirt cheap over where I'm at. So like, because of the whole because of all of like the tax credits and stuff with like the FHA stuff with Biden, I think there was a bunch of stuff like with the IRA, right? With that, I believe. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But home prices are like going really low where I'm at, and I'm so pissed Trump's back in because everything is going to go back up. He's just going to undercut fucking everything.
Going up. House price, the housing market isn't going to crash.
The federal government,
it's going to keep going up.
The federal government doesn't even affect house prices all that much.
Yeah, the housing market is going to keep going up. That's not going to.
Now,
I was saying with all the inflation and stuff, with all like the tariffs and all the inflation and crap, it's going to be a fucking pay it now.
Well, okay, specifically like the tariff on Canada, like if you're taxing like the main source of lumber,
exactly.
Like that can drive it up, but again,
if they tax oil imports
I was even
too.
kind of saying that like putting money synthetically into like the pockets of people who want to buy a house for the first time, like there's it's really hard to think that there wouldn't be like,
bro, I swear,
reason. Dude, you gotta let people finish. You cannot cut in. You cannot cut in the second someone starts talking. You have to shut up and let people talk.
My bad.
So no, all I was saying is that there's no reason that people who are selling houses wouldn't have looked at like the 25,000 people we're getting and then just say like, hey, we're gonna like add over X number of months, like something to your mortgage. So
it's just gonna raise the prices. That's not how any of like this. You can't just give it to. And that's just more picking winners, bro. I'm so sick of this. Like, I choose you to get a $25,000 grant, and you to have it. Like, I just so sick of it. That's not policy, man. Like, I just want cheaper shit. Like, legit.
That is my policy. Cheaper things.
What'd you say, Jolah?
I mean,
but you have to know what policies are going to get you cheaper things.
I'm actually curious.
Like what policies?
I'm actually curious. What do you mean by cheaper? Like, do you mean cheaper in like cheaper like number on a board cheaper or like wage differential? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to ask what he means by that.
I want the dollar to be worth more, and I want the things you get from it to be greater. That's what I want. I want the prices to be lower. I want fuel to be down, and I want inflation down.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna ask, do you think Trump's gonna be able to cut the ACA? I've heard takes like that. I don't know what you guys' thing on that is.
I hope he does.
No, he's not. I don't think he does.
I'm not like an economics minded person by any means, but like it seems like even if the dollar was to gain value, does it necessarily stand that companies aren't just going to like adjust their prices to, you know, react to the fact that people have more spending power? Like, you know, what if you're a, you know, gas company or whatever, like oil provider, and you're like, oh well, now the dollar is like so much stronger compared to like the yen and the pound and the euro. Why don't we just like
See,
raise our
that's
prices? Why
exactly
don't we
why.
just like raise our prices a little bit? Again, the idea ultimately is that, you know, the number on the board means nothing if your spending power doesn't go up. And one of the best ways that you can get your spending power up is by negotiating a better salary with your boss. But in order to be able to have any kind of influence and not have them tell you to fuck off, is that people need to be able to collectively bargain. So
Yeah, no, I mean that's why honestly I'm an advocate for green energy, because honestly, look,